I'm back. Look, it lined it. You know, I may as well, right? Can't. There's no point in me doing being back and then transition into the game. May as well just transition into the game. But yes. We will be playing through Hello Lady, even though that's not what I meant to press. Even though it's you know, quite late. But I said I would stream it, and it's my fault that we took this long because I was stalling for time. But either way, last time we played through quite a bit, right? It's a bit confusing for the VOD, especially since only half of it was streamed recently and the other half was streamed 2 months ago. But you know, last time we got to learn more about Naito. God damn it, I said Naito again. Narita. Alright, I'm not making that same mistake again where I kept saying Toru's last name instead of Narita's name. Alright, we got to learn more about the other characters, and we got to learn about choreography. What was choreography? Apparently, you know, the school is letting only the Etoels, specifically the Etoels, they're the only ones who are allowed to train their halos. And during the training, something went terribly wrong. And what went wrong? Apparently, it was a gas leak. How convenient that it was a gas leak that caused the explosion in the school building. Why is there a gas line in the building? Who knows? Was there a gas line in the building? Also, who knows? But either way, that's enough rambling on. Let's jump right into it, shall we? Yes. As you can see from the save files, my CG save was on the explosion. The voice in her ear awakened Saku from her reminiscence. This was Saku's room. A few days had passed since the explosion.
Saku, またぼーっとしていました。この数日、普段のサクとは数値的な差異があります。
Since the
課題の事
explosion,
故の後遺症で体調に問題が出ていますか？
do you really have to show her panties? Right? Could you not have simply just moved the camera up a bit, right? Cropped that part out.
大丈夫。平気よ。ほら、やけどとかもほとんどなかったし、成田のおかげで。もう全部治ったわ。後も残らないって、時の先生も言っていたでしょ？それならいいのですが。心配ないわよ。そうだ、そろそろ夜食作ってくれない？了解です。今夜はあれでいいんですね。自分、思いますけど、ベッドにあぐらでカップ麺すするのは、クラウンの筆頭としてどうかと。
Is there something wrong with eating cup ramen?
いいのよ。どうせ L しか見てないんだし。カップ麺は栄養的に問題ありありです。作るのめんどくさいし。作ってるの自分です。 いいの。この学園にいると普段こういうのが食べられないから、時々無性に食べたくなることがあるの。
美容によろしくないです。ついでに言うと、サクは便秘がちなので。
うるさいな。いいでしょ、たまに食べるぐらいでウエスト増えたりしないわよ。
What are you talking about, Arrow? Girls don't poop. How could they get constipated?
ねえ、エル。成田にお礼言わないといけないわよね。
Saku hadn't talked to Narita since the accident. Well, you know, she was fucking passed out since the accident, so I can see why she hasn't talked to him. They'd had a fight shortly before it, so Saku found it difficult to reach out to him. He saved her from it. That incident marked the second time Shinri Narita had saved her life. A person who had saved a life could be considered a savior, so what was a person who saved the same life twice?
変態かな。
I don't think that's the word you would be using. And it wasn't just her this time. He had also saved her dear friend. She didn't want to imagine what would have happened without Narita. Not thanking him made her a failure, not just as a noble, but as a person, even if he was a moral deviant. You didn't need to flash back to this, okay? I have PTSD from the CG because it was fucking deleted by YouTube, and I almost got a strike for it, but thankfully they was like, you know, because this is your first time and you weren't aware of this, you won't get a strike for it. And I'm like, thank fuck. It was on my VOD channel, so, you know, looking back on it, their first encounter was terrible. What kind of person just fondled a girl's breast like this? That was the first time anyone had done it to her, too. I would hope so. Not only that, but Saku was the Academy's oldest member, as well as the head of the Crowns. The other students respected or even revered her, so none were blunt with her. None among them fondled her on first meeting. I would hope not, though that was entirely normal.
成田真理。
Thinking of that pervert's face clouded her thoughts. There was still the issue of him living with them. She'd planned on chasing him out, but thanks to the accident, that ended up not happening. And more importantly,
成田の侮辱を。
ノーブルこそが人を導くか。なんとも滑稽だ。自分の意志を是としない新世界がこの社会の限界を突破したものにできるとは私には思えないのだよ。
Just notice how she said insult, right? Even though Narita is criticizing the ideology, Saku is taking it like he's criticizing her. All I'm gonna say is that mentality is very relevant today. Narita wasn't completely wrong there. Saku herself knew that, but chose to look away. She was most upset because he hit the nail on the head. What did Saku Otanashi have to do as the Academy's insignia? Her response was as simple as Saku expected.
自分にはわかりません。
あなたはいつもそうよね。
Well, I think you're unique in that situation. Fucking transitions. After giving Saku her dinner, Eri went to the living room, where she found Sorako.
ソラコ、こんな時間にどうかしたんですか？
It was almost time for lights out. Sorako would normally have been in her room at this time, but instead she was just spacing out in the living room.
ソラコ、本当にどうかしましたか？そういえば、ここ何日かぼーっとしてることが多かったと記憶していますが、あの事故のショックとか。
it's shock from an incident. It's not, but not from what happened at the academy. It's from what happened in the dorms. No response. Era assumed she was thinking about something. She went to the kitchen and pulled out her favorite red beans from the fridge. It was a pre-sleep habit. The school regularly filled the dorm's kitchen, and you could just get you could get just about anything by ordering it. Era always went to out of her way to order Taisho sweet red beans. She was almost the only one who ate them. They were basically hers, and she loved them a lot. Does the fact that they're pointing this out mean that Narita is also going to like Taisho sweet red beans?
牛乳スタート。
Or is this just meant to be part of her character quirk? She then drank some milk from a small carton. The sharp-sighted Matori always scolded her for the lack of elegance in the act, but Eru liked that facet of it. Milk was important. If she wanted to be like Saku, it would make her grow in more ways than one. Clearly, it's not letting her grow vertically. Eru still had a bright future ahead. She couldn't afford to let her growth stop like Tamao's. Look, Eru, I understand you want to grow where it's important, but don't insult Tamao's chest like that. So she worked hard every single day in hopes of someday achieving her goal.
エルちゃん、ね。
Sarako belatedly responded.
空子、マジ大丈夫ですか？この前の事故の影響でどこか悪くしているのでは。私、もうすぐ大人になっちゃうかもしれない。
What? Listen, Sarako, let's, if we consult the rankings, unfortunately, Eru will be first. So, soon may be a bit of a stretch there. I mean, look, Eru is going to be first regardless, but still. The only reason Sarako isn't... the only reason why Eru isn't fourth, is because of Matori. But you can't date her technically, so Eru is technically fourth. Whatever. Oh, this is the face that Sarako is making. I didn't realize she liked Narita like that. Well, that much. He could have waited until Eru stopped drinking before saying that. Eru spoke to Sarako in a horrified tone, like she was conversing with some unidentifiable monster. Eru was so cute. Sarako was so cute. You don't need to clarify what you meant, Sarako. Sarako said that with a bright, blooming smile, unlike any Eru had seen before. Look, the only silver lining to this is that at least Sarako is being vague enough to not expose what Narita did to her for her to act like this. But she wasn't acting like this when she was first saved by Narita. Or however many, for however long it was between her being saved by Narita and her getting fondled by Narita.
どうしたの？もうすぐ消灯時間なのに騒がしいわよ。
空子が壊れました。
は？
I would think that too. But it ain't the case. I had to decide what to do. Where was I to go? Oh, really? Oh, shit. There's no Tamao option this time. Oh, man. Classroom, rose garden, dorm living room. But okay, let me think. If I'm trying to go down Tamao's route, I can't pick dorm living room, right? Because that's Sarako's. So, which one do I pick between the two? Surely, right? Surely, I go the rose garden. And my thinking for that is because that's where we met Tamao. I guess. I don't know. Whatever. Fuck it. Just... Fuck! God damn it. You're not the person I was looking for! The maid was looking after some flowers. Japan was called the country of maids, and it seemed like they were used even for the most mundane of tasks. Japan created the pop culture phenomenon known as maid cafes, which had become quite a sensation in New Delhi. It was only natural that professional maids could be found around every corner of this country.
申し訳ありません、ご主人様。ワインを床にこぼして、どうかお尻を。
But Narita, I thought you didn't like this maid because she's flat.
自分の舌できれいにしなさい。
Never mind, the fantasy isn't about the maid, it's about Saku.
はい。
So is going to the rose garden for Saku? I don't like where this is going. Oh, thank God the fantasy ended.
なかなか良い。
Fuck. As I imagined such fun scenarios, a student ran out of the rose garden and dashed towards the cafeteria.
はい、行ってまいります。
He was in such a rush that he didn't even look to his sides. To the sides.
タマオではないかね。
Oh, it is Tamao. Fucking oh, I can't believe it.
成田。この前は。サク。空。
Oh, yeah.
何か言いたいことがあるのならはっきり言ってくれると助かるのだが。
うせえ、知るか、お前なんかビーだ。絶対ぶっ飛ばしてやるからな。
Never mind. I thought that it was I don't know why I'm going down Tamao's route when I should be going down Sarako's because she's lower than Tamao on the rankings. But I've already tried to lock in on Tamao because I saw her face as one of the first options. So, you know, I was just trying to go down an easy... I was just trying to pick an easy option. But I was gambling with picking the rose garden, and I guess I was right.
それは楽しみにしていよう。ところでさっき学生がすごい形相で走っていったのだが、何か恐ろしげなものでもこの辺りにいるのかね。
ああ、あいつなら7回生。俺からすると上級生なんだけど、顔を合わせるたびにどっか走ってってジュース持ってきてくれるんだよな。
ふむ。
Hmm.
んだよ、そのかわいそうな子を見るような目は。
いや、人とは互いに分かり合えないものなのだと痛感していたところなのだよ。
Right. Nothing major happened after the accident at the test campus. The days were relatively peaceful. The academy as a whole was rather tense due to the incident and the work that needed to be done to fix it, but as a student, I lived in relative peace. The cast on my arm was soon removed, and all was back to normal for me, even though everything about school life was new.
ハローが遺伝的に継承されることから、シェイクスピア論文によってハロー遺伝子の存在が予言されていますが、未だ発見には至っていません。
Why is Shakespeare the one theorizing about biology? Mr. Kino stood at the front of the class with energy and elegance that made one think the explosion had never happened.
前世紀の HMI の発症率はほぼ突然変異と呼べる程度のものでした。1980年代から明らかに優位な値で発症率の上昇が見られています。原因については温暖化や太陽の活動の影響などといった眉唾レベルのものを含めて非常に諸説があります。
That reported that the incident at the test campus was due to a mismanagement of the gas lines, which, you know, for a test building to have gas lines running through them, why would they need that? But my first-hand experience made me believe otherwise. It was no mere accident. Someone had clearly settled that up.
現時点での HMI はまだまだごく少数です。国内で HMI 問題対策室が設置されているのが現在7カ所に過ぎないのはある意味その証明です。
You know, especially for a building where you're expecting people to fight each other. Like, what if someone accidentally, broke one of the... what if someone accidentally, broke one of the gas lines and actually caused the explosion, and not something as intentionally as what happened during that incident?
もちろん HMI の発生率は現在も増加傾向にあります。このまま増加していく場合、最大の問題となるのは音無さん。
Saki stood up, throwing me an oddly harsh glance. She still seemed upset about what had happened the other day. I knew it would take her a while to cool off.
早ければ21世紀の半ば、遅くとも次世紀中には顕在化するだろう問題として HMI とコロスとの間に生じるだろう圧力が挙げられます。
結構です。さて、
どうかされましたの？疲れたため息など漏らされて。あの事故の影響でしばらくはコレオグラフもありませんから、一般講義ばかり。気疲れすることもありませんでしょう。
I mean, yes, but she's not going to admit that.
試験校舎燃えちゃったからね。
たく、原因がガス漏れとか言ってやがんぜ。何が最先端のスクールだ。とんだオンボロじゃねえか。
見た目だけで中身ハリボテはどこにでもあるものです。
まったく、あいつが来てから問題だらけ。
Excuse me. I'll have you know, if it wasn't for him, not only would the accident have still happened, the quote-unquote accident, you and Sorako would be fucking dead. Not this transition again.
人類の歴史がいわば医者との圧力と差別の歴史であることは今更述べるまでもありません。
Look, I know that these fucking games are trying to be all quirky and shit with their transitions, but just stick to the simple fade in, fade out, okay? It's easier for me with how I fucking structure these videos, but like, it's not, it's not as goofy as the fucking, I don't even know what you'd call that. A movie maker transition.
人類の新しい可能性である HMI がこのまま増加し、社会的影響力を持つだけの数に達すれば、当然コロスからの激しい反発があると予想されます。
Crosses were people who didn't have halos. Basically, the vast majority of the 7 billion people in the world. In the academy, it was used to differentiate between HMIs and normal humans.
反発はすでにアンチハローメンという形で現れています。現状では彼らのような無知と暴力によって貴重な HMI が犠牲になっているのです。
AHM was the populist group that knew about HMIs and wanted to purge them. The men who'd attacked Saku and Mr. Kino were part of that group. AHM weren't just a bunch of terrorists, however. It was an entire New Age group with a chain of command, core members and splinter groups with different tasks, different takes on the matter. It had simple informants, HMI-hating individuals, internet trolls who spread negative sentiments, and actual terrorists. Yeah, and one of those actual terrorists is meant to be a teacher at the school. Was the accident caused by them? What did they want? To kill Etoels or damage the school in some other way, perhaps? What if they were after me?
人類がこれまでに経験した民族問題は文化や経済、環境による差異こそあれ、根本的には同じ人類間の違いでしかありませんでした。
Look, there is a potential that they are indeed after Narita, considering the explosion happened around where he was. But you can't rule that. How do I say? You can't definitively say that is the case. Yes.
しかし HMI とコロスの間には互換不可能な明確な差異、ハローの有無があります。
Especially since the first attack that we've seen had nothing to do with Narita. Right? They attacked Tokino and Saku, and Narita just happened to be there because he arrived early.
やがて避けられない HMI とコロスとの対立は歴史上のどのような民族問題をもしのぐ徹底して深刻な対立になるだろうと予想されています。現在我々が HMI の存在を秘匿し国家レベルでの隠蔽に努めているのはこの対立の問題を回避、事実上の先送りにするためです。この状況はいつまでも続くものではありません。少なくとも22世紀中には我々は HMI とコロスとの対立という重大かつ深刻な問題と向き合わねばならなくなるでしょう。
One of the reasons the academy had been built in a remote area like the T Prefecture was to avoid prying eyes.
残された猶予時間に我々はこの問題に対する有効な処方箋を用意しなければなりません。それがどのように困難であろうともです。いずれ来る不幸な時代の訪れをあなた方の未来が打ち破ることを願っています。
I'll try. At the start of the lunch break, Sorako walked up to me.
成田くん、お昼ご飯よかったら一緒に食べないかな。
Listen, Sorako, I know I should have picked you first, because I can't pick Eru, especially since... Oh, right, no, I made the joke that Eru was first, but I can't really pick her. I kind of forgot that part. But, you know, Soraka, I know I should have picked you first, because you're third of the list instead of Tamao, but unfortunately I'm trying to go down her route. You know, maybe if I fuck up, I can choose the options that lead down to your route, but that's if I pick enough options to lead me to a bad end.
それは素敵だ。
嬉しいな。あ、そうだ。今度僕、2人分お弁当作ってこようかな。
After glancing at me, Saku walked outside.
タク、待ってください。自分も行きます。俺も成田くん、サクとまだ続いてるんだ。
ふむ、どうやら尾を引いているらしくてね。私も至らぬことだ。
早く仲直りしないとダメだよ。あ、僕からもサクに言っておこうか。
それには及ばないとも。確かに空子の指摘は正しい。フレンドシップは美しきかな。
フレンドシップは。
さて、サクと仲直りする良い方法に心当たりはあるだろうか。食事しながらで構わないので教えてもらえないかね。
いいよ。じゃあ食堂へ行こう。よし、恋は待っててもダメ。せめて行くべし。
Soraka began leading me to the cafeteria, but something strange awaited us in the hallway.
何？どうかしたの？成田様。
Oh. It was a maid who looked exactly like the one Taigi had been using as a model. And exactly was no mere exaggeration. She looked so much like that maid that it was unnerving. I'd even guessed they were twins.
大義くんのメイドちゃん。
君は大義を知っているのかね。
それって成田くんもう会ってたんだ。
Yeah, he's very eccentric. Similar to Narita, but he's into flat chests instead of big ones like Saku's. So maybe you'd like him. Never mind.
転校初日に中庭で挨拶を交わしたのだよ。その時君とよく似たメイドが中庭で大義のモデルを務めていた。
それはおそらく1号ですね。私は2号。
Yeah, you can differentiate between the two by the color of the tie. I don't remember if number 1 had a tie, but number 2 has a green one.
なるほど。わかりやすい名前で実に結構だね。
成田真理様、お探ししました。
探したということは、私に愛の告白でもしようというのだろうか。
成田くん、愛多すぎないかな。残念ながらメイドの愛はマスターのものです。
Yeah, but like surely Taigi doesn't need 2 maids, right?
これはますます素晴らしい。君は実に行き届いたプロフェッショナルメイドだ。それで要件とは？
成田様、帝理事長がお呼びです。
Oh. I had no choice but to postpone the lunch with Sorako. Unlucky. Korofune Mikado, the founder and chairman of Tenkawa Noble Academy. A summoning from him came before all else. The encounter I'd been awaiting made my heart go wild. That aside, the one who'd modelled for Taigi was number 1, while the one who acted as the chairman's messenger was number 2. The numbering made it clear that both of them worked for Chairman Mikado. The graceful the graceful creature led me to chairman's room, the chairman's room, where we met Mr. Kino.
理事長の要件というのは他でもありません。この間の事故についてです。
Yeah.
話せることはすでに話したと思うのだがね。突然の出来事だったので、私もサクと空子を連れ出すだけで精一杯だった。
感謝しています。エトワール、このスクールで最も貴重な人材が失われてしまうところをあなたは救ってくれました。
Yeah, but you know, the fact that he was able to save both of them means that he's stronger than both of them, right? He's power scaled Saku, and Saku was meant to be the strongest, right?
過分な例だ。それほど大したことはしていない。
成田君、私は勘違いしていたかもしれません。君は存外奥ゆかしいのですね。言葉を選ばずにぶっちゃけますが、もっと偉そうな人間だとばかり。
そうではないと思う。私が偉いのは事実なのだから。
どうやら私の気のせいだったようです。ともかく理事長はあなたから直接話を聞きたいと。成田君は帝黒船理事長とはまだ面識はなかったはずですね。
ああ、そうなるか。一度会ってみたいと思っていた。
では良い機会になるでしょう。
Yeah, let me hear his voice.
失礼します。成田真理を連れてまいりました。
入れ。
That's all I needed to hear to know it's fucking Kiryu.
理事長、成田真理です。
はじめましてだ、成田真理。私は帝黒船。この学園のプレジデントでもある。
From running an orphanage to being the chairman and founder of a school, he really evolved after Yakuza 6. I guess not Yakuza 8. In his large office, the man sat atop his throne-like chair behind an ebony desk. A gaze as sharp as that of a hawk, and a body so toned you could see it through his suit. I felt like I was staring down a gladiator in a coliseum instead of the chairman of my own school. I've finally found him.
こうしてお目にかかれる日を本当に楽しみにしていた。成田真理だ。
研究校舎の事故で2名のエトワールの救助をしてくれたそうだな。
I'm never going to see him as Kurofune because of how distinct his voice is.
偶然近くにいたのでね。燃える校舎から連れて脱出することができた。
I looked back at him, but I couldn't read any of his emotions. It felt like I was looking at a slab of stone or iron. And the fact that he's meant to be fucking he's meant to be jacked as shit under the suit. He's meant to be a jacked old man. It's like, brother, you could not you could not have fucking voiced someone else to play this role. Maybe not, because it's such a perfect voice for the character. No, he is neither of those things. It wasn't that he didn't have emotions. He just hid them deep inside to prevent others from seeing them. The stony poker face clearly hid an extremely strong mind. You'll only see his emotions in the side stories. All right, you'll only see them in side quests. But unfortunately, he doesn't have any side quests at the moment.
感謝する。働き貴重な人材が失われることなく済んだ。
A deep voice that etched through my chest, and a straightforward manner of speech, when combined with a gaze so sharp it could rend your very core, a simple chat with him seemed oddly threatening. People of weaker wills would have panicked already.
時の女子にも言ったのだがね、礼を言われるほどのことはしていない。
事故について 他に気のついたことは？
Yeah, I noticed how suspicious it was.
どういう意味かね。
そのままの意味だ。現在事故の調査を進めさせている。その一環だ。
突然だったので詳細は何とも言えない。私の気がついた限りではこれといって異常はなかったと思う。
ところでこのスクールでの生活はどうだ？
正直戸惑うほどだと思う。平和にして絢爛、これはなかなかに得られぬものだ。それにあらゆるものが目新しくてね。
成田真理、君はエトワール初めての男だ。個人的にも期待している。
Well, let's hope you don't find out about about what he has done to Saku, Tamao, and Sarako. Soon, well, maybe not Matori, but soon to be Eru.
期待か。なるほど。
I hope. I mean, I don't hope.
では楽しみにしていてくれたまえ。きっと期待に沿うことになるだろう。
月末には定例のパーティーがある。各界の名士たちを招待し、我がスクールのノーブルを紹介する場だ。参加メンバーは選抜されるが、エトワールは全員が参加することになっている。無論君も。客に武勇譚を聞かせてやるといい。
聞かせるほど大層なものでもないが、必要とあればそうしよ
う。ご苦労だった成田真理。
では失礼する。
Leaving Mr. Kino behind, I turned around and walked out of the chairman's office. Not again.
どうだ？
Taigi walked in from the neighboring room. He'd heard the entire exchange through the thin walls.
興味深いですね。あらゆる意味で。
聞かせてもらおう。
彼は海外で長く暮らしていたとのことですが。
はい。履歴によると内戦の土地にも滞在記録があります。
型破りなわけだ。そして旧兵や既存の概念にとらわれない思考、揺るぎない意志。羨ましい限りだ。
He cracked a smile as he said that.
そうでなければ呼んだ意味がない。
The aged voice showed no hint of emotion. Taigi knew that Korofune Mikado had always been like that. He had long since discarded all emotions as useless impurities.
変化をもたらせですか。
変化は常に必要だ。始まったばかりのこの学園であっても、ノーブルは人々の範たるべきもの。多くの異物と最前線で触れ合うもの。未踏に挑むことを開拓という、いつの時代も新たな地平を見出すのは恐れを知らぬ者だけだ。
それと先日行った第142回試験の結果ですが、まだ追試が残っているものの、今回の試験で水準値をクリアした者は3名です。
What? So, okay, I was gonna say Narita Saku and a third person, but I don't know when the 142nd exam was held, whether it was before Narita arrived or after.
プラントの状態は？
機能的には問題ありません。数値は平常値を保持しています。周期的な異常値が観測されていますが、状態が状態ですので誤差の範囲でしょう。
Or, hang on. Okay, this is another one of those things where where they talk about something and it's I'm misinterpreting it. Right? The first time around was when Naruto was talking about his fucking whoever the fuck, and I was confused as to who he was calling petite. And in this case, exams aren't what the exams in this situation aren't done by the students, right? Maybe I should have realized that from how they were talking about it through numbers.
大掛かりなメンテナンスの必要はないと思います。
では予定通り HMI の育成に努めるよう彼らがオールに到達し人類の新たな礎となってくれることを私は期待している。
はい。
Tokino nodded reverently while Taigi did it like he didn't even care.
ええ、全くですね、お父さん。
What? I can't believe Taigi is Mikado's son, Korofune's son. Oh my god. What? What do you mean? What? Huh? Is that meant to be like a big reveal or something? It's like, oh, Taigi's maid, you know, Taigi's maid number 1 was modeling for him, and number 2 who looks exactly the same as number 1 is meant to be Korofune's maid or whatever. So clearly there's a connection between Taigi and Korofune. The first thing you would think is, oh, maybe it's father and son. Who knows? Maybe they're biological, maybe it's adoptive, whatever. It's like, it's not that big of a reveal, right? But at the same time, I already misinterpreted 2 things that have been talked about. So maybe it isn't that far off to think of it as a big reveal. I will say though, maybe Kiryu's voice for Kurofune was a good match. I just, you know, with how they're characterizing him, it does seem to be a good match. I just hope that he doesn't turn out to be a bad guy. And that is solely because it is Kiryu's voice. I don't want him to be a bad guy. The crowns were the top students of the academy, the goal of every young person who studied on its hallowed grounds. Due to that fact, they gathered attention no matter where they went and what they did. A natural part of their roles that they accepted, it seemed. Also, you got corn dogs, and you made them in the microwave. I love soggy corn dog. God damn it. It's debatable, that's all I'll say. Look, I don't want him to be an evil character like that other teacher, right? I want him to be grey, right? If he's going to be anything, if he can't be good, don't let him be evil, right? At least keep him morally grey, right? Not like someone that needs to be taken out, like that other teacher. Noblesse oblige, or in other words, privilege came with a sacred responsibility. Nobles had to stand out and lead by example. Even on days without etiquette training, the crowns had a duty to eat at the school's cafeteria. Today, however, the crown's table attracted attention for a different reason. Right. Sorako, I'm not dating you yet. Don't do this to me. I gladly ate the boiled daikon Sarako presented to me with her chopsticks. It felt like we were newlyweds. Don't say it like that. However, since this was the school cafeteria, we were surrounded by classmates. The noise of the cafeteria had been drowned out by an unusual silence, and I felt murderous gazes aimed at me. I wonder why. It's not just from the other Etoiles, but from guys who would be jealous of, who would be into Sorako. Do you know what Starry is? No, I don't. That's why I was only focused on the soggy corn dog. A cold can of Starry. Do you expect me to know what that is? Starry is a popular lemon lime soft drink created by PepsiCo, designed as a direct competitor to Coca-Cola Sprite. Considering the fact that I haven't heard of it, I don't think it's doing well competitively. That's all I'm gonna say. I prefer it over Sprite. I prefer Solo over Sprite. Tamao's glare was as hostile as the rest. It felt like she was a gorgon about to turn me into stone.
どうかな、味付け。この学園の料理、成田くんの口に合うといいんだけど。
Look, if you're gonna give me a lemon lime soft drink that I don't, if you're gonna tell me about a lemon lime soft drink I don't know about, I'm gonna tell you about a lemon soft drink I know about.
ほってりとしていながらさっぱりとして絡みつく。これはなかなか絶品だ。
こういう味付け、成田くんの好みなの？それなら今度僕が作る時もそうするね。
Yeah, but like, why aren't you looking at Narita when you're saying this?
いや、料理人ごとの味わいを楽しむのが、そう、わびさびというものではないかね。合わせるのではなく、空子の味わいを楽しみたいものだね。
頑張る。成田くんが喜んでくれるなら僕も楽しくお料理できる。じゃあ次はこっち。
Okay, maybe I should have tried harder to go down Sarako's route first. But at the same time, if Sarako does this enough times, she might get moved up to second. That would so it can justify me picking Tamao over her.
何をやってるの、空子。
What do you think? Saku asked in a robotic voice.
何って見ての通りだよ。成田くん怪我してて腕が使いにくいから僕が代わりに。
If you're gonna come up with an excuse, at least use one that sounds more plausible. So, like Narita just got rid of the cast, so I think he's very capable of using his hands.
してるからって、もう治ってるでしょ？ギブスだって取れてるんだし。
That's what I'm saying.
そうだぞ。だいたいそんなの空子がすることかよ。
Like, I think out of all of the girls, Sarako should know very well that he can use his hands. I'm not going to explain why, especially in front of the other girls, but all I'm saying is there's a reason why Sarako is doing this, and it's related to what how he used his hands that night.
美味だ。ただ味が良いだけではなく、シチュエーションこそ食事の感能を幾重にも引き上げるというもの。いわんや美しき乙女の手ずから食べさせてもらう場合など、形容しがたい魅力があるとは思わないかね。
だよね。じゃあ次。
あーん。
これは何と言うべきですかしら。
ちょろいです、空子。
I think she's just. Okay, I was trying to think up a better word than pushover, but I can't come up with one at the moment. Look, Sorako may be the first.
これは由々しき事態です。成田真理をこのままにはしておけません。
But she won't be the only girl fawning over Narita. Okay, maybe fawning isn't the right word, but, you know, she won't be the only one into Narita. The crowds were seated around the table in the living room when Saku said that in the most grave tone she could muster.
何も寮に帰ってから会議をしなくてもよいのでは。
緊急の議題よ。一刻の猶予もない。
I really like the Saku lollipop sprites.
猶予もないっつうと。
あれですか。
I guess expressions. Soraka was in the kitchen. She'd promised to make lunch for Narita, so she'd begun her preparations. She was doing an excellent job, and nothing the other girls talked about reached her ears.
あの変態野郎！俺に恥ずかしいことしただけで飽き足らず、あたり構わず成田金ばらまきやがって！
Look,
そやつをやるか！
if a gas leak couldn't kill him, you can't kill him. Yeah, excuse me? Eru, what is Eru doing? Yes, do something even more embarrassing.
何やってんだ？
Was that Eru's? No, that the only words I heard are hi, which, you know, the first word there, and then hazukashi, which is embarrassing. So that was what she. This is her line, even though there's no name to it.
空子がいい感じに桃色なので記念撮影です。よし、これをブログに桃色リア充爆破しろとタイトルつけてアップすればアクセス数ウハウハ。
悪魔か！
と言ってどういたしますの？一度彼に少なからぬ借りがありますわよ。
借りって、そりゃ咲や空子を助けてくれたのはでかい借りだし、そのままってわけにはいかないけど、でもだからってさ。
成田真理は命の恩人。正直桂木さんの浮かれようもわからないではありませんわ。
What's most confusing about that line with that arrow line is the filter they used over it. Like, you know, first of all, if it wasn't so quiet, I wouldn't have had to say the line. But it's so tin can sounding. right? It's like she's talking through a can.
それはそうだけど。
緑、怪しい。
Look, Mitori's the only one who doesn't need to worry about this, because unlike the rest of the girls, she won't be able to fall head over heels for Narita because she doesn't have a romance option. She isn't a romance option.
ちょっと、まさか緑までとかそんなことはないわよね。まさかそんなことはありませんわよ。
If only, though.
ともかくそれとこれとは話が別です。
Saku placed another piece of candy in her mouth and made a stern expression.
問題は空子だけではありません。成田真理はエトワールでありながらクラウンへの参加を拒絶しました。参加は規則に定められていないと言われると、まあそうです。
エトワールはクラウンのメンバーとして学園を運営すべし、ノーブルたるにふさわしい経験を積むための実践の場とはいえ、確かにそれは暗黙の了解ですわね。
Look, he already stated his conditions, alright? Saku needs to convince him to join the Crowns through force or debate or other things, and then maybe he'll join. Until that happens, he isn't going to join.
いいじゃん、入りたくないってならほっとけよ。あんなやつの顔見ながら仕事できるかっての。
これだから単純なやつは。
スクールの秩序に差し障りがありますわよ。よりにもよってエトワールともあろうものが堂々と学園秩序に逆らい、その上放置されている状態が続けばクラウンの権威に傷がつきますわ。
あれだ、手を挙げない教師をアホガキが舐めて下に見るようなもんだろ。
Tamao spoke like it was nothing, but it was no doubt a major problem.
スクールに所属する HMI の全員がノーブルの理念に賛同しているわけではありません。
The broken windows theory. If a window is left broken for too long, eventually all the windows will be broken. It was a criminology theory that said that all small crimes could become a symbol of lawlessness and cause the collapse of local order. In the same vein, it's like when serial killers, when they're young, start killing small animals and stuff. Right? If they aren't disciplined or punished in any sort of way when they're small and a kid, you know, HMIs couldn't be punished under the current system. Laws were decided by common awareness, and halos were powers that dwelled outside of it. And the academy had about 200 HMIs. Their order was supported by two things: the immense organizational capacity of their chairman, Korofune Mikado, and the power of the Crowns, the 5 Etowell grade HMIs. Peace wasn't supported by ideals or foundations, but violence and power.
スクールに在籍する200人の HMI、 万一タガが外れてしまえばどうなることか。
But doesn't? Here's the thing, they just said if peace wasn't supported by ideals or foundations. But wouldn't Narita being here aid in making that a possibility? Right? How do I say this? The ideals that have been thrust onto these HMIs from Korofune is very flawed at the moment. Narita, who is one of the only people capable of standing against those ideals, because, you know, he is an Etowell, right? He holds power. He holds substantial power in the system. So, how do I say this? Wouldn't, combating Naruto in a sort of ideal battle, wouldn't battling out, how do I say this? Yeah, no. Naruto has essentially stood against the ideals that were proposed by Korofune Mikado, and if the other 5 Etoels want to prove him wrong, they will need to battle it out with their own ideals. Right? So, and the only way they can do that is if they can strengthen the ideals and lay out a foundation that is strong enough to go against Naruto's ideals, I guess. It's a confusing way of going about it, but the more they keep talking about this stuff, the more the more it's like this was Korofune's plan, right? And I don't know if that is the case, but it's the I don't know. It's the reason why I'm iffy on that theory is because this is all the students. This is what the Etoels are talking about. It's not Korofune or Tokino or that other teacher who's a fucking villain, so we won't worry about him. It's not the staff who are talking about this. It's the students who have not been brainwashed into thinking that these ideals are the only good ones, but they've sort of been taken advantage of. And Korofune sees that as a problem, because if you aren't able to back your ideals with a strong foundation, then any criticism can easily dismantle it. I've talked about this before, I think, but it stands to be repeated. HMIs were akin to weapons of mass destruction, especially because of the fact that HMIs are as powerful as they are compared to regular humans. If your only way to if your only way to remain peaceful is through violence, then it won't take a lot to disrupt that peace, as seen clearly through the fucking terrorist group. Disagreements are part of reality. Making an enemy out of everyone who disagrees with you isn't good for a society. Look at how the United States is. Well, you say that, but what the problem with the US is that one side aligns. How do I say this? One side treats their ideology as part of their identity. So any disagreements that come from criticizing that ideology, those people will take it as an insult to themselves, right? There is a reason why there is so much violence on the left. Because any criticism to their ideology is a criticism to their identity. They're making everyone their enemy? Exactly. the thing is, the right, while slightly different, there are still people like that. The only difference between the left and the right is that the left, the radical left, is a lot more vocal than the radical right. You get what I mean? Especially since, the funny thing is, left-wing groups funded those far-right groups. Right? You heard about that story. Right? How I don't remember the company, but that company funded like KKK neo-Nazi groups. So they essentially created a faux violent right. I'm probably a mix of independence and libertarian in terms of belief. I am too. Especially since I think taxation is theft. But, you know, I am a fan of tariffs to a certain extent. I hate how demonized it's been because Trump is the one implementing them, right? I can guarantee you if it was another president, it wouldn't be this demonized. Right? If it wasn't if it was a different president who enforced, you know, no illegal aliens, it wouldn't be as demonized. If it wasn't for if it was a different president who deployed ICE, it wouldn't be as demonized. The problem is, the people who are quote unquote fighting against the right, you know, fighting against ICE or, you know, sustain, how do I say, strong borders, fucking fair elections even, right? With God, why am I blanking on the name of it? The Save America Act, right? A lot of those people are funded by big corporations, are funded by billionaires. So there is still a very loud amount of people who are very against the right, but at the same time, there is an equal amount of people on the left who only do it, who are only against the right because it gives, because they're making money from it, right? Also known as grifters, right? There are a lot of grifters on the left, as there are a lot of grifters on the right, but I will say that there are a lot less grifters than there on the right than there are on the left. When do you predict the average person on the left and right is going to get sick of the extremes and the radical people and start causing wars? Okay, well, first of all, the average person isn't going to start causing wars, right? A Hassan viewer is not an average person, alright? They are closer to the radical left than they are centrist, especially since the left has been pushing that line further to the right. Or, yeah, I guess further to the left. So, centrists, you know, I'm just curious, when you think a war is started, you know? How do you know it hasn't? Because it technically has. Right? Even though it isn't as big as a countrywide war. There was a war against ICE in Minnesota. There was a war against ICE in Los Angeles. Right? It's not going to happen countrywide because every state has different politics. and it's the ones that are more radical that will have these small-scale wars, right? There's a reason why BLM riots only happened in a few states and not countrywide. Who do you think will happen? Who do you think will happen? What do you think will happen if the radicals starts getting a firm grip on presidency? Understand this. And this is kind of the main issue, is that politicians on the left have already become radicalized. Right? And I can guarantee you most of them are performative. Right? If you've ever seen an Asmongold video, you'll know that the left has, you know, at first the left was always for strong borders, and then for some reason they changed on this stance. I wonder why. It's almost like that was the only way they were able to win elections. Right? It's the reason why. I put the sensitive labels up, thank God. It's the reason why they are so against the Save America Act. Anyone who is against the Save America Act is for illegals voting in American elections, and there is no two ways around it. You can talk about how, oh, some people won't be able to afford an ID, or some people won't be able to drive to a fucking voting booth or whatever. And outside of how fucking racist those remarks are from the left, because very clearly you can see there are only, how do I say this? You notice that they only talk about how poor black people won't be able to get an ID, right? They don't talk about poor white people in the same way, do they? So it's nothing to do with class. It has everything to do with a race. And the fact that they aren't able to realize how, well, actually no, they are able to realize how racist their remarks are. They just don't care. Because they will do everything in their power to prevent the Save America Act from being fully implemented into the system. I'm just curious when you think people will start doing a lot more against more the extreme radicals. It's not physical. It's not going to happen physically. Right? We can see with how popular Asmongold has been. We can see with how popular, you know, not so much right-wing commentators, but more so, you know, more right-leaning ideologies, more right-leaning politics is being promoted. It's very clear to see that. Here's the thing. It's not that normal people are shifting to the right. It's that the politics and ideologies of the right are sounding a lot more normal than what is on the left. Anime Slash Lolly was banned in Texas. Did you hear about that? Yes, I did. That happened a while ago, though. But anyway, maybe remove the... Maybe it's time for me to stop talking about this. And let's get back into the game, shall we? What if that happens in PA? Use a VPN. You should have been using it. You should have been using it since Chubb was fucking cracking down on this shit. But, you know... you know. Anyway, take the sensitive label tag off. Pay for a VPN. No shit, pay for a VPN. Here's the thing. I technically don't have to pay for a VPN because I use megas, but I'm paying I'm paying for the VPN through the storage that I need to upload onto Mega so that I can post the videos onto Patreon. If I wasn't paying for that storage, I wouldn't have a VPN. But if I did want to pay for a VPN, I would recommend Proton. That's about it. Proton is very good. And the reason why they're very good is because it has been proven that they will not give your information away, even in like a legal situation. How much is it? I forgot. Proton VPN is, let me see. Okay, I'm not looking for a 2-year plan. I'm looking for monthly. Okay. So the 1-year plan. Okay, here's the problem. There's always going to be deals and stuff like that. The base price is $10 a month, but you can okay, $10 a month for $83.88 US a year. But there's a deal going on where you can pay $3.99 for a month and you'll be billed 48 for the first 12 months and then $83.88 after that. Or you can pay $2.99 a month and get billed for 2 years, and then get billed $71.76 for the first 24 months. It's fucking. I didn't even have 50 in my account, you know. Yeah, I know. There is another one that it's private internet access was another one that I think is the same as Proton. It's the same as Proton in the way that you know, in a legal situation they won't snitch. They won't sell you. They won't give your data away. This one actually has a monthly plan. Hang on, I need to convert this because it's in Australian. It's $11.41. Or it'll probably be a bit cheaper than that. Or maybe, you know, 12 to 11, I would say. For a month, monthly. You have 35 at the moment. How do you have 35? What are you paying for? I thought you were getting. I thought you were getting 50 a week from your mum. And, you know, no government payouts, even though you're meant to be autistic and there's no disability, but $11.95. Your mom sends you some, yeah. So then, how do you have so little? Like, okay, if you minus the monthlies you get from the monthlies you're paying from your Twitch, your Patreon from me, your membership to Ange, she gets paid bi-weekly, every other week. Right. So that's $100 a month. Okay, you know what? I was like 100. You know, 100 every 2 weeks would be something. But okay, yeah, okay. Now that I'm doing the math, it's a bit more reasonable to think that you're losing money from your memberships. So why don't you cut some of them? Right? Look, as much as I enjoy you paying for my for a subscription to my Twitch every month, I don't need it. Okay? And you know, if you're going to do anything, at least, you know, just the Patreon, even then you don't need it. Right? Maybe for the H scenes, but at least you're getting more out of that than you are from subscribing to my Twitch. You don't even get a fucking cool subscription badge or whatever, especially after 32 months. You know, look, for me, like, obviously you don't need to subscribe to me on Twitch or Patreon. And, you know, for your other subscriptions, I don't know, maybe you want to subscribe to them for whatever reason. I'm not going to go over your subscriptions and say cut them out, whatever. Right? You are my main streamer. Okay. And you don't have money. You are the main one I always keep. You do realize that I didn't stream for 2 months, and you still paid those. You still paid for those 2 months. You are the only one I currently have for Twitch. Yes, but here's the thing. You cut the subscription out. That's already an extra amount of money you keep in your bank account every month. Right? Listen, Dexter. What about the ads? What about the ads? Here's the thing. The best way you support me isn't through subscribing to Twitch, because I barely get money from it. And, you know, I get a little from Patreon. But that Patreon money goes back into buying visual novels. Right? So the best way you would be able to support me is giving me visual novels. Okay. What do you mean, oh, okay? You act like the whole reason why I'm doing this. I started recording for visual novels. I started streaming visual novels because you gifted me My Klutzy Cupid. And I didn't buy it myself. So, you know. Yeah, I know that. Right. I just thought you kept the Patreon money for yourself. And used it for yourself. You realize that I don't make enough on Patreon to be able to keep it for myself? Like, sure, technically, I might spend it on food or something like that, but it would still, you know, it would still be. It could still technically be for, you know, visual novels. But either way, that's enough about your financials, that's enough about politics. Let's get back into the game. Shut up. I forgot about... I forgot everything I was talking about that related to the game. That was the true nature of possibilities. They could craft a new future precisely because they endangered the present.
とまあ、そういう事情はともかくとして、なかなか面白い個人であることは間違いありませんけれど。
Interesting might be an understatement.
副会長がそんなことでどうするの？
これでも成田真理を買っておりますのよ。玉を破り、私まで負けたとなると。
俺は負けてねえ。もう一回やりゃあんなやつ。
玉尾、マジ一番の小物発言。
Yeah, I guess we're just gonna forget about the actual second round they had through swimming. Through the swimming event.
ニトリは負けたわけじゃ。
私の槍は必中必殺。一度放って的を射抜けなかったのであれば、それは負けたも同じこと。私、それなりに納得しております。
Yeah, and you only hit 2 of them.
彼は確かに、今までこのスクールには、いえ、私の周りにはいなかったタイプの男性ですわ。実際、このスクールに新しい風を吹き込んでいるのは確かではありませんかしら。
新しければいいわけじゃないわ。成田真理の行動は秩序を乱す要因なんだから。
よし、俺が今度こそ。
恥の上塗りにならないように注意。お姫様抱っこの次は沸騰しちゃうよーのポーズで学園一周です。
なんでてめえはいつも一言多いんだよ。ほら、ほっぺた引っ張ってやれ。
I mean, with how my choices have been going, I'm certainly getting closer to that being a possibility.
もういい、やり配布。
オンはオン、秩序は秩序。筆頭のおっしゃるように、スクールの秩序維持は個人の感情よりも優先すべき事柄。とはいえ、おとなし筆頭、力ずくでやろうにも簡単にはいかないでしょうし、それに加えて。
この分だと空子は成田くんの味方するわよね。
桂木さん、あれで一度決めたら強情ですもの。
そりゃいいは
何言ってやがるんだ。面白い顔しよう。うわ
ー。二人ともそろそろやめなさい。それでエル、いい考えというのは？
Sakura threw yet another piece of candy into her mouth. It helped her deal with stress, which had been a bigger problem as of late. Eri stopped her fight with Tamao and rose to her feet. Her face was lacking in expression, and yet seemed somewhat proud.
この高崎エルに会心の策あり。次はクラウン一の策士である自分が行きましょう。
I had to decide what to do. Where was I to go? No! There's no options. There's no icons for any of them. How will I be able to pick? Living room, my room, outside. Okay, surely it's not my room for Tamao. But outside seems too obvious. And God damn it. I can't not pick outside, right? If I'm going for Tamao, who is the fucking tomboy sportsy type, then I can't not pick outside. Or whatever. After dinner, everyone retreated to their rooms and silence reigned in the living room. Sorako, however, remained behind to prepare lunch for 2 people.
よし、できた。ソラコ、ちょっといい？
A friend who she'd thought had retired for the night addressed Sorako directly, a solemn look on her face.
サク、どうかしたの？もうぶっちゃけて聞いちゃうんだけど、ソラコ。あなた、本気で成田のこと好きなの？
You know, I thought my room would be Sorako's thing, but I guess outside is Sorako's thing.
そんなの、好きとかじゃなくて、僕は。
Don't bother trying to hide it, Sorako.
はいはい。ソラコの言いたいことはわかりました。どうしてあんなやつに惚れちゃうんだろう。ただでさえ面倒なのに。サク。なーに？ごめんね。僕、迷惑かけちゃってるね。いいわよ、そんなの。好きになっちゃったんなら仕方ない。でもクラウンとしては成田をこのままにはできない。それは覚えておいてね。サクのこういう風にはっきり言ってくれるところ、僕好きだよ。今さら何を言ってるんだか。それでこのままにできないって具体的にどうするの？それはまだこれから考える。サクの意外に勢い任せなところも僕好きだよ。そっちは別に褒めなくていいから。自慢できないし。
Fuck. Senkoa Noble Academy had more researchers on campus than students. Like Sorako had said, it was a facility where they tested halos directly in order to aid future development. The academy was still young. Halos being mostly hidden from the public was one reason that it was an obscure school, but its relatively recent establishment played a part in that as well. Though it was an official institution recognized by the Ministry of Education, so you could find it listed on government documents. After school, I used my free time to walk around the grounds. I remember the encounter right after I returned to Japan, AHM, the uncouth men who'd attacked Saku and Mr. Kino on the night I'd arrived. The group had no clear leadership, but still had a network spread all over the world. In a way, they were very modern. The ones that had attacked Saku and Mr. Kino must have been a particularly aggressive subgroup. Who knows what would have happened to them if I hadn't passed by. The AHM were afraid of halos, and their fear had grown due to their lack of power. They were the present, resisting the future that would come to pass. Were they the ones behind the accident?
やはり違うな。
You're not being very subtle about this, Arrow. I know I didn't comment on your appearance the first time around because I was reading out what Naito was thinking about. Narita was thinking about. God fucking damn it! But you ain't slick. The Academy security boarded on neurotic. To fake an accident on that scale, you would need the help of someone deeply involved in its inner works.
とすると、この学園の誰かが。
As far as I knew, this place had a lot of money put into it. With such large organizations involved and so many clashing interests, there had to be some intense inner conflicts. Then there was the unknown dark figure who'd been spotted around the school. Arrow, someone besides me was up to something in that area, and that person had both immense physical power and skills that allowed them to easily slip by security.
それもどちらでもいいことか。
Knowing that a shadow loomed over the Academy's future, it didn't change what I had to do. Did I read that right, Dexter? You were paying $20 a month on ChatGPT, and you didn't realize. I was doing a lot of research, job related, and tried getting a business license to proofread on Fiverr because of local laws, but I scrapped that. I don't want anyone checking my room like that. Why do they have to make this shit so complicated just once? I got the free trial of ChatGPT. Okay, yeah. And usually, as soon as you've... Why is my model frozen? As soon as you finish using ChatGPT for that one purpose, I would just fucking cancel it immediately. Right? It is a fear of mine that I forget to cancel a free trial and then just get charged out of the fucking ass for something that I will not be able to refund. A good example of that is when I was paying for when I paid for the free trial of Amazon Prime US. And the problem is Amazon Prime Australia is a different subscription. So when I got a charge for a different Amazon, I was shitting bricks because I'm like, oh fuck, I have 2 Amazon Prime subscriptions. I'm normally pretty good at having all my current subscriptions memorized. Yeah, I do too, right? I used to have a chess subscription, I canceled that. I had a skill capped subscription, I canceled that. I canceled a few of my Twitch subscriptions. I canceled a few of my Patreon subscriptions. One I had to cancel recently was why is my thing freezing all the time? Getting a job is way too complicated. Well, why do you think I'm trying to do this instead of trying to actually work? When you don't want to work in person anyway? Yeah, but you didn't seem to have a problem when you worked at Wawa. Or maybe you did, but You did well enough to stay. I kind of did. Well, yeah, obviously you're fucking autistic, but still. You did well enough. I hate working with people. It's not the working... No. Okay. It's not the working in person thing that I was focused on. It's the working with people that I was focused on. Customer service too was horrible. Yeah, I can gather that, especially for a convenience store. Look, that's why I'm like, surely there is a way for you to get paid by the government so that you don't have to work. End of sentence. My mom said they should have cancelled it on her. What? Shouldn't have. Who's they? Who is they in this situation, and when will it not be cancelled? They is the ability. Disability. Disability. Right. But someone who works for an insurance company even told her that? Right. But when is it going to be uncancelled? Right, you know? IDK. Is she doing anything about it? Are you going to do anything about it? She has to do the process again? Right. But, you know, IDK how? Well, here's the thing. If your mum isn't doing it because, you know, she's too busy or something, then, like, probably a court case. Okay. Yeah. Look, I understand that it's a lot more nuanced than this, but free money. Maybe not free money, but like more money that you're getting from the government. Anyway. Let's stop talking about that. Knowing that a shadow loomed over the Academy's future didn't change what I had to do. I had to focus on the feeling in my heart and the promise I had to fulfill. I also had to be careful not to make any mistakes. Something moved between the trees in the inner garden. You're finally going to acknowledge Eru's presence? I was unsure what to think about the stalker. Though I did know I couldn't let her keep following me, and so I resolved to face it directly.
Takazaki Eru, watashi ni nanika you ka ne?
The moment I turned around, I saw the exact same illusion as before. Once again, I confused her with a girl who looked nothing like her, a girl who couldn't possibly have been there. There was a moment of familiarity that vanished as quickly as a summer haze.
自分を発見するとは、成田真理、侮りがたし。
You're not being very subtle about it. Look, just because you're small doesn't mean you can hide behind trees.
君まで私を褒めてくれるとは。クラウンにはどうやら友好的な人物が多いらしい。
なんという難聴男。日本語的サイレントニュアンスを理解しやがれです。ラブコメ時空人間め。
Is that meant to be an insult? I think I would prefer I would rather take that as a compliment. Look, just because Sarako isn't first on my list doesn't mean I don't like her.
ところで飴を食べるかね。
自分を怪獣するつもりですか？策じゃあるまいし、そんな方法で自分が。まあいいでしょう。いただきます。
素直なのはいいことだ。
ええ、策にもよく言われています。
それで何か用かね。
いいえ、自分は偶然歩いていただけですので。では失礼します。
Right. Eri walked away. Who is this person that Toru keeps confusing Eri with? For no particular reason, I walked to the rose field. Within the fresh flowers and their thick scent, I found a familiar figure. You. He was looking at the forest north of the rose field. Well, more specifically, the crystalline plant picking out of it the Washington Monument, or this place monument. I forgot the name of the place already. He appeared rather happy, like he was ready to start humming. While I was a man who had every right to go there himself, looking at it with such interest.
これは珍しい。成田くんも散歩かな。
Yeah, Shishikai. I hate his name because I have to pronounce it every time well, I don't have to pronounce it, but if it's ever brought up, I have to pronounce it. He'd notice my presence.
獅子会教諭。そちらこそ実は園芸が趣味だとかね。いや、私の場合、単にここがお気に入りの場所というだけだよ。
こそこそ。
Once again, especially with Shishikai, I saw Eri peeking out of the rose field. It appeared that she still wanted to follow me.
おや、女性に追いかけられるとは羨ましいね。
Yeah, unfortunately, Narita isn't into girls with flat chests, so.
私にまだ何か用かね、高崎エル。
またしても発見されてしまいましたか。こうまでたやすく自分を見分けるとは、さすがは成田真理。玉を締めただけはあります。
褒めるほどではないが褒めたまえ。この程度は、そう、まさにことわざの鳩が豆を食うという程度だと思う。
豆をバカにすると殺す。
I knew she was going to. As soon as I saw the word bean.
君は豆を食べないのだろうか。食事とは人生の潤いだ。君の平坦さには未来がある。いつか豊満なる奇跡に到達するためには栄養価の高い豆が素晴らしい。
そう、豆はいいです。特に金時豆。
Please tell me you like red kidney beans or else.
豆は良いとも。
There was a rare air of peace between us.
あなたとは分かり合える気がします。
They have been connected through bean.
友情とは豆にも勝るとも劣らぬほど素晴らしいとは思わないかね。もちろん私は君とも友情を築きたいと思っているのだよ。
友情？昨夜玉尾や空子にやったみたいにですか？
Oh, so you know what happened with Sarako and Narita.
ある意味ではそうだと思う。
But also not because you're too flat for that.
自分にもいやらしいことをするつもりですね。薄い本の中身みたいに。
私を侮っているのではないかね、高崎エル。 私を卑劣な痴漢のように侮蔑するのはやめてもらいたい。私は自らの信念に従って生きているのだ。
ああ、君たちは一体何を言い合ってるのかな？
Nothing that oh, god damn it, what was the word? Nothing related to you evil man. Unable to enter our circle of friends, Professor Shiskai was thoroughly ignored.
信念に従って父を揉む？
I never did that. I didn't do such. I didn't do that.
いいなだ。いいかね。揉むのは手段であって目的ではない。私は美に打たれ、それを確かめなければならないのだ。そのために時には自らの手で形を、張りを、感触を確かめなければならない。それは美への信奉であり、私にとっては何者にも代え難い衝動なのだ。
So
人、それを痴漢という。
ならば私は痴漢冤罪を甘んじて受けよう。たとえ世界のすべてが敵に回ろうと、自らの信念に照らして私は恥じるところがなく揉もう。
see, this is why Eru doesn't need to worry about any of this, because there's nothing on her for him to never mind.
成田君、それは冤罪とは言わないのではないかな。
An outsider like him had no chance of shaking my unending faith.
はい、甘いです、成田真理。あなたの信念も暴虐も自分には通用しません。
なんだと。暴虐という言葉には違和感を覚えるが、通用しないとは驚きだ。私の探求を阻める者などいない。
I assure you, Narita's never done anything violent, even to those terrorists.
自分が化けの皮を剥がして差し上げましょう。見よ。
In front of the professor? Oh boy. Eri raised her skirt without even a hint of hesitation on her face. The action exposed her unexpectedly charming underwear, and Mr. Sky formed a strained smile in response.
自分でスカートをめくる覚悟。さあ、あなたの薄っぺらな信念でこのピチピチヤングなビューティフルランジェリーには抵抗できないでしょう。
Yeah, there's a reason why she's lifting up. There's a reason why she's lifting up. Jesus Christ. There's a reason why she's lifting up her skirt and not exposing her bra, because there ain't one there.
そしてこの誘惑に屈した時、信念を手放したあなたは大敗北するのです。さあ、抗えるというのならやってみればよろしいです。あなたの魂のへし折れる音が聞こえるのです。
愚かな。
Look at the height difference too. What do you mean? What do you mean? Massage them kindly, accept her challenge and knead them forcefully. Stay true to myself and knead them without shame and restraint. Why do I have to do Eru's choice when I can't even go down her route? I'm not doing that. I will choose Eru's when it's her turn. But until then, I'm not doing it. Okay? It's called edging. You'll have to wait until after I fucking finish another character's route, or however it works with Eru. But if I'm going to pick one of the two that is more like Tamao's, I have to pick the third one. Right? I don't want to pick any of them, especially because of Shichikai, right? If it was just Eru and Narita, maybe I would be more into it. But not only are we in public, we're in front of a fucking teacher. But the more Tamao option, I hope, is the third one. Because need massage them kindly sounds more like a Sorako option. Sorako. So, sure, whatever. Stay true to myself and need them without shame and restraint.
Nani?
I'm surprised he's going for the thing that doesn't exist. Ignoring her underwear, I fondled her chest, feeling her growing flatness.
下着が何だというのだね。なるほど。女性の可憐な姿を目の当たりにすることには男としての感動もある。だが、私が探求しなければならない美ではない。
Look, it was only a matter of time before it was Eru's turn to get fondled by Narita, okay?
たとえ君が目の前で下着を脱いだとしても、そんなものは一切の価値もないのだ。
I like how we have gone. There is a there is a spectrum of from big to flat as to where the characters stand, and I like how we have naturally gone further towards flatness with who Narita has groped. Right, we started off towards the furthest, biggest you could get, and then we went to Tamao, who is slightly smaller than Saku, but definitely second. Then we moved over to Sarako, which, while she does look as flat as Eru, you can definitely see when she took off her shirt and when she's in her sleepwear, her more casual outfit, you could see there is a bump there. And then we moved all the way to the flattest with fucking Eru. We skipped we skipped Matori, but that's because she doesn't have a romance option. She isn't a romance option.
そう、私は胸を揉む。百聞は一見にしかず、一見は一触れに及ばず、見ただけで分かった気になるなど、なんと愚かな。ネットで知識を集めて賢者になれるわけもない。人は自らの苦難の果てに階段を上りゆく。さあ、高崎エル、君の未来ある平坦のすべてを審判しよう。
君たちマスターの見ているところであまり不純異性交友は進められないんだが。
As evil as you are, I agree. Technically, she is a romance option. I know she technically is, but isn't that like in the fan? Hang on a minute. Does Hello Lady have a fan disc? I forgot. Yeah, there is a fan disc, right? But that's the problem. She's in the fan disc. She isn't in the real she isn't in the original game, right? I will say though, you are playing the game with it included. I hope I am. Because I saw that edition, Superior Intellectia, or whatever it was called. You are? Thank God. But yeah, it's just, sure, she's romanceable, but she ain't romanceable in the base game. Okay, fan discs are like DLC. It doesn't count. You know who I also want to be romanceable? Hishia. I know she isn't here at the moment, but is she also a romance option in the fan disc? Hishi is romanceable. Thank God. Even though the cover of New Division has Midori and Saku, it should be Midori and Hishia, or whatever the fuck. I don't know. I don't know what Hishia's role will be in the base game, or when she's going to show up again. But Tokino is technically romanceable without H scenes. God damn it. Of course she doesn't have H scenes. Why would she? Why wouldn't? Why? Yeah, okay. Whatever, let's get back to the game. It is a bad end? What do you mean it's a bad end? Is it a bad end because you can't, because you're not able to date any of the other girls?
教諭は下がっていたまえ。これは信念の問題だ。高崎エル、君の平坦には未来がある。だが、現在こそが分岐点であると忘れてはならない。
Look, clearly Arrow isn't completely against being fondled like this, because she's still holding up her skirt.
将来、豊満な輝ける未来が平坦の残酷か。それは日々の努力で決まる。未来を夢見て精進することだ。
And that is the only way I'll be able to cope with whatever the fuck Naruto is doing in front of a teacher.
さて、私の偉大さを思い知ったことだろう。おとなしく答えたまえ。私を尾行する理由は何かね。
My Fundaline had made Arrow collapse. Her breaths were ragged and wild. She has been defeated.
成田真理、恐ろしい男です。まさか若くてピチピチのパンツに目もくれず、ただひたすら胸を揉むとは。この高崎エル、一生の不覚。仕方ありません。そうです、成田真理。自分はてめえに用があります。
うん、やっと正直になったようだ。では伺おう。
あなたは学園秩序を混乱させています。その身勝手をこれ以上放置はできません。
You are saying this to Naruto while the guy who was bringing even more chaos to the academy, but behind the scenes, is standing right next to him. She stood up and glared at me with the eyes of a crown. It felt like there was a dagger right to my neck.
私は混乱を望んでいるわけではないのだよ。自分の信念に基づいてなすべきことをなすだけだ。だが、それが学園秩序の敵であり、認められないというのであれば致し方ない。
I had already made it clear how important my beliefs were to me. I had informed them that I would never change my mind, even if someone begged me to.
改めるつもりがないのであれば、成田真理、あなたを制裁します。
So you're gonna punish him for not changing his way. So you're gonna punish him for not changing his ways, but you aren't gonna punish him for what he did to you just 10 seconds ago.
異彩承知した。受けてたと。この場で行うのかね。
待ちなさい、成田君。それに高崎君も。何を物騒な話をしているんだね。それもマスターの目の前で。君たちはエトワール級 HMI だ。強力なハローを学生同士の争いに使えば取り返しのつかない事故が起きてしまう。そんなことは分かっているだろ
う。We already know what happened. Tamao lost handily, and see, all of the flowers are still here, so nothing happened.
これは私たち双方にとってやむを得ないことだと思う。生き方の問題なのだからね。私は違えることができず、彼女たちにも正義はある。望まぬものに強要するには力が必要だ。彼女たちは間違ってはいない。自分の愛する秩序を守るべく、そのための力を行使するのだから。
成田は正しいです。マスターは引っ込んでいてください。学園の秩序維持はクラウンの責務です。マスターに口出しする権限はありません。
それで この場で行うのかね。
Eri shook her head.
いいえ、自分はこのままの状態であなたとやり合うつもりはありません。玉尾とミトリはこと直接的な戦闘面ではクラウン最強。二人を任したあなたを真っ向から打倒しうる HMI は学園ではあと一人だけです。
He already defeated Saku. It was, he may not have won the fight before the explosion, but he still beat her.
あと一人。それは
She probably meant their leader, the top student of the academy, the insignia of the crowns. Saku Watanashi. I don't know why you had a silhouette of her and acted like we wouldn't have known it was Saku. The halo she'd shown during choreography seemed akin to Tamao's, a physical enhancement. However, I wasn't foolish enough to believe that that alone made her the leader of the institution with 200 HMIs. Saku Watanashi must have had some power besides that, and I was honestly curious about what it was.
ならば、サクが私の相手を務めるのかね。
それはさせません。そのために自分が来ました。
Well, are you gonna fight him or not? Make up your fucking mind.
なるほど。君はまさに清廉にして忠実な騎士だ。その忠誠の気高さに称賛を。しかし、先ほどの話によれば、サク以外には打倒できないと君自身が判断している。無益な特攻をするとは思えないが。
自分は特攻など恐れません。
Eri Takazaki said that without a hint of hesitation or doubt in her voice. She really wasn't afraid of death. I could tell based on the look in her eyes.
自分にはそのような打弱などありません。ですが、無駄なことをするのも好みません。命を懸けた程度であなたをどうこうできるとも思えませんので、やり方を変えます。
I would hope so.
では、
成田真理、お前の弱点を探し出し、その一点をえぐり出すことで打ち破ります。完璧無双の人間などいない。不死身の英雄さえ張り付いた木の葉一枚で死に至る。あなたの未知のベールを剥がし、最も脆弱な弱点を解き明かしましょう。
そのために私を見ていたのかね。
そうです。
君の策への献身と忠実、確かに受け取った。その心意気に免じて好きなだけ間近で私を観察するといい。そしていつなりと君の望むままにするといいだろう。寝込みを襲うのもありだが、あまり進めない。私はヨーガの鍛錬によって熟睡中でも無意識での警戒を怠らないのでね。
では、お言葉に甘えて付きまとうことにします。覚悟しなさい、成田真理。
Yeah, I also don't recommend you enter his room. He might be naked. He might be naked when you enter.
おーい。
The man raised his hand and called out to them, but the two students simply walked away. They left him all by himself amidst the roses as a distant wind flew by.
教育とは難しいものだね。
They're already long gone, okay? You don't need to keep up the act. The next day.
成田くん、ちょっといいだろうか。
うん、なんだろう、視界共有。
はい。
今は一般教養の講義なので、他学年の高崎くんは
So why are you singling me out?
エル、一緒にいるのは不自然だと教諭が言っているが、どうするかね。
些細な問題です。
昨日の成り行きはその場にいたから知らないわけでもないんだが、だからといって授業中にだね。
成田くん、エルちゃん どうしたの？今日は朝からずっと一緒で。
Don't worry, Sorako. She isn't into me yet. So only you're the one who can. So you're still the only one into him.
戦闘中なのです。
本人もこのように言っている。問題なく授業を進めるといいだろう。獅子会教諭。今日の昼食は麻婆豆腐などどうだろう。
辛くて美味しそうだね。辛いのは嫌いです。
You like beans, so.
エル、君も自分の分を頼めばどうかね。
もちろん頼みますが、横で辛いの食べられると超最悪。そんな胃腸に厳しい料理よりも、この奥島風カツサンドがおすすめです。特製カツが最高なのです。
これは何の肉だ？
お肉ではないのです。魚のすり身です。フィッシュカツサンドなのです。またの名をカツ天サンドとも呼ばれています。
カツといえば豚だ。魚でありながらカツを語るとは、なんたる冒涜的な代物だろう。
エルちゃんは地元民だから詳しいんだよ。ソラーコ、自分の極秘情報をさらりと漏らされたら困ります。
Is it really that classified?
ごめんね。でもそれぐらいは。
Yeah, you're leaking information to the enemy.
乙女の秘密は男の心を惑わせるものだ。しかし君が望まぬのなら言う必要はないと思う。
高崎の里、自分はそこで生まれました。そう、ジモッピーなのです。結局言っちゃうんだ。付きまとってる分、多少は自分のことも明かさなければ公平とは言えないですので。
That doesn't make sense, but sure.
距離があるのはいいものだよ。大事にするといい。
You gave him such critical information while not knowing the equivalent of his.
エルの件が騒ぎになってるから様子を見に来たのに。なんだかんだで仲良くやってるのかな。
No, what are you talking about, Saku? Eru and Narita are fighting. You just don't know that. Eru continued to follow me even after school. As one would expect of Saku's night, she didn't show any signs of exhaustion.
放課後になったらなったで、うろうろと怪しい動きを。
There are benefits to not showing any emotion, right? She's able to conserve energy by not showing any emotion, so she's able to follow you around school all day.
私にとって学園生活なるものは初体験なのだよ。そう、汚れなき純白乙女のように知ったばかりの学園を見て回りたいと思うのは当然ではないかね。
何か見えましたか？
No, and it has nothing to do with any sorts of weaknesses.
興味深いものが見えたとも。
Who the fuck are you? There was a man near the front gate. He had a tattered coat and the eyes of a starving dog as he looked around frantically, like he was searching for rotten meat to feast on. His appearance definitely didn't fit the Academy's modern, sleek image.
不審者のようですね。
他人を見た目で判別するものではないとはいうものの、あの姿ではどこから見ても立派な不審者ではあるがね。
どこへ行きますか、成田？
I walked up to the gate, and Eru followed behind me. And the men walked back and forth, stealing vigilant glances at the academy.
もしかするとこの学園に何か用かね？
The unexpected voice confused the man.
おう。
Why do we get his name?
何か用かと尋ねたのだがね。
何をしますかこいつ。マジ恐れを知らない。
ああ。君たちここの学生かい？
He relaxed, but his smile was that of a hyena that found fresh prey. His intentions were so blatant that he had no chance of tricking anyone.
質問に質問を返す無作法はあまりおすすめしかねる。
ああ。こいつは悪かった。俺は記者でね、ちょっと取材中なんだ。
He stuck his business card through the gate and waved it like bait. And that was precisely what it was. He clearly wanted me to move closer.
おい、成田。
Harry didn't take the situation well, but I faced the dog-like man through the gate.
これが名刺だ。
It said Takeshi Hanazono on it. According to the card, he was a journalist from a major newspaper. Not bad for a forgery. This country's news media acted more like entertainers than journalists, but even they wouldn't stoop low enough to hire a bottom-of-the-barrel man like him. Yeah, he's clearly too ugly to be a journalist.
それで我が母校に何の用かね？
ここは学園なんだろ？オタク理事長のこと知ってるかい？
帝黒船理事長かね？
そう、そいつだ。最近どうだい？
Oh, you know, same old, same old.
おい、成田。
Harry made a stern face. She didn't want me to tell the shady man anything, and I could see where she was coming from. However, that didn't apply to the situation.
どうと言われても困るのだがね。
学生ならさ、中から見ててどうだい？何かおかしなこととかないか？
おい、成田。
ここの理事長は相当のやり手な人物だ。残念ながら期待に添えるようなものはないと思う。
Be more subtle about it next time. The man clicked his tongue, spat on the ground, and walked away, staggering like you'd expect from someone with a back as hunched as his. He's got the gamer pose. Calm down.
成田、どういうつもりですか？あんな外の人間にヘラヘラと。
安心したまえ。何も身のあることは話さなかったろう。それにこのスクールの力ならしがない記者が多少うろついたところでどうということはない。
Of course, that was assuming he was a journalist. The way he looked into the school made it seem like he didn't actually expect to hear anything useful.
成田、どうして笑っていますか？
Harry's words made me realize that I had cracked a grin.
そうか。なるほど。私は笑っているのか。
もしかして行かれましたか？もともとやばそうですが。
Stop using that transition. After dinner.
エル、今日は一日成田と一緒にいたみたいだけど。
Saku threw a candy into her mouth to activate her mind as she faced Eru. It was good to see them getting along, but Eru was a crown, so hanging around a rebel like Narita would set a bad example. Yeah, like Sorako hanging around with him wasn't already setting a bad example. So what's another crown hanging around with him? Saku clearly wanted to hear Eru's opinion on the matter, and so the girl responded honestly.
安心して自分に任せてください。成田をぶっちめる弱点を探してみせます。
本気だったんだ。
She referred to the plan Arrow had mentioned during the meeting.
自分もクラウンのメンバーです。成田を放ってはおけません。
Arrow was loyal to Saku, loyal to a fault, in fact. Arrow almost didn't care for anything except Saku and the other crowns. And it wasn't like she was shy either. She just didn't care. She did help control the other students when needed, but she actually wasn't invested in that at all. Arrow Takazaki was honestly almost as much of a deviant as Shinori Narita. Yeah, but she's a deviant for beans and not a deviant for women's breasts. Never mind. Saku did want her to hang out with more people, but Narita certainly wasn't the best candidate. They were both problematic in their own ways, so there was no telling what would happen if the two mixed.
変態のそばにいたら変態ウイルスに感染しちゃうわよ。
Yeah, she's choosing to hang around with Narita even after she was fondled by him.
大丈夫。任せてください。
That day, Arrow didn't listen to everything Saku had said, which was a true rarity for her. Arrow Takazaki continued following me everywhere.
夜も一緒にいるのかね。
無論です。
That's a bit intimate, but I'll take it, I guess. She'd also taken a liking to the green stuffed toy and played with it by throwing it up and down.
消灯時間になれば
当然、一緒にいます。
She rubbed her cheek against the toy, as if asserting that she'd stay with it.
わかったとも。ではそこのベッドを使うといい。私はこちらのソファーを使うとしよう。
自分が押しかけているのにベッドを使わせる気ですか。かなり頭悪いです。自分がソファーにします。
Yeah, but Narita can't have a lady using the sofa.
それは困ったものだね。
What I say,
乙女
if I
を
get
床
told
や
you.
ソファーに寝かせて自分がベッドを使うのは私の心情に反するのだよ。
You know, unless you want to sleep with him in the bed.
心情？
私にとって逆らえない私自身だ。君にもあるだろう、高崎エル。
どうでしょう。
しかしそうなるとどうしたものか。
わかりました。自分に考えがあります。
It just occurred to me. So, is the reason why we can't do Eru's route first, and the reason why it's locked behind doing another person's route, because Eru is the person that Narita knows about from the past? Right?
消灯時間過ぎたらこうするのです。それで完璧。
Like, it can't be a coincidence that Eru looks so similar to the person that Narita keeps bringing up whenever he sees her. And the fact that Eru, out of the four girls, is the only one you can't do first. Whose route you can't do first. Like, that can't be a coincidence.
一緒に寝るとはナイスアイデアだ。
Well, she doesn't seem opposed to it. We got in the bed together. Eru grabbed my arm as tightly as she could. I mean, the bed looked big enough for them to both sleep together. I don't think she needs to be holding his arm this tightly. This wasn't so bad, I felt like. A father with a dear daughter. Oh, that's how you see her. You still groped her, but you see her as a daughter.
ここのベッドは広いですので。
しかし男女7歳にして同衾せずという言葉を知っているかね。
今の自分は女ではなく、成田真理、あなたも男ではありません。我々は互いに敵同士です。ですから、そのようなことを考える必要はありません。
清烈にして苛烈な忠説。君の心情はたとえ平坦であっても関わりなく美しい。いいな、君の気高さは必ずやあるべき豊満に到達するだろう。
I don't think Dexter would appreciate that.
当たり前です。日々努力を欠かしていない自分は、必ずや策のような豊満として君臨するのです。そして、
Harry suddenly fell silent. Then she turned as pale as a prisoner who'd just been sentenced to death.
成田、今日は何日でしょうか？
それは。
When I said the date, Harry reacted like magnesium that'd been exposed to fire.
そんな、まさか、当日、もう当日じゃないですか？本当だ、発売日になってる。ここしばらく忙しかったから、バタバタして忙しかったから、直前予約するの忘れてた。もうダメ。いや、大丈夫。当日なんだから、店舗まで行けば残ってるはず。そんなの、こんな時間から外出許可出るわけないじゃないですか。
She looked up at the ceiling and rolled around the bed like a lost hamster. It was quite funny, to be honest.
何をそんなに悲嘆しているのかね。
予約忘れて、発売日初回特典、ピンチ。
She expelled more energy in this one moment than she did throughout the entire day. I found it hard to figure out what was going on from her fragmented sentence, but I could tell that she was deeply troubled. It was definitely something extremely important to her.
何かにしくじったようだが、それをどうにかする方法はないのだろうか。
それは、外へ出て、市街までお店に直接。
街まで出られればどうにかなると。
それは、でも、そもそも許可が。
わかった。それでは何とかしよう。
I took Aru out through my room's window, making sure that Saku didn't see us all the while.
こっそり外へ出たからって、どうしますか？寮から出ても仕方ないです。学園の外、市街なんですよ。
Yeah, at least change out of your uniforms before you do it.
おまけに端末とか RI まで外させて、どういうつもりなんですか？うわー、もうダメだ。夢も希望もないんだ。自分、悲しみで胸が張り裂けちゃう。
端末と RI を外したのは位置をモニターされないためだ。それと静かにしていた方がいいだろう。大きな声を出せば特に玉尾あたりが気づいてしまいかねない。もちろん君の言わんとすることは分かっているとも。ただここからは多少厄介なのでね。しばらく捕まっているといい。さて、 とりあえず学園の外へ出たわけだが。
自分抱えて壁越えるとか人間ですか？そもそも見つかったらどうします？
チプカリーと呼ばれる技法だよ。中国の武術では傾向というが、見つからないよう特別のルートを通るために君を抱いて飛んだり跳ねたりしたのだよ。ここの神経症的セキュリティをくぐり抜けるのは本来私でも一苦労なのだ。
My nightly jaunts hadn't been for naught. Normally this would have been a problem, but not anymore. Though a normal person couldn't have used my route without being detected.
それに夜間外出は禁止なのですよ。
Personally, I felt that was the least of our worries.
それは困る。私が学園を抜け出したのは秘密ということでどうだろう。交換条件として私は君を市外に連れて行こう。もちろん帰りも。
Don't worry, by the end of tonight, you will no longer become enemies. I don't know what you'll be after, but it's definitely not going to be enemies.
万一見つかったとしても、私が連れ出したのだから、サクたちが責任を問われることはないだろう。どうかね。
いいでしょう。その取引に乗ります。
I still don't appreciate that they're outside in their uniforms. I mean, look, I could have commented on the fact that they were lying in bed with their uniforms on, but you know, I could chalk that up to being, they're just lying in bed and then they'll change after.
よろしい。取引成立だ。
But if they're trying to sneak out of the academy, I feel like you would change out of the one thing that would signify you are from the academy. Right?
でも、外へ出たのはいいですけど、町までどうやって行くんですか？10キロはありますよ。
Oh, you just run.
それについても問題はないとも。
Oh, never mind. We're approached by a grey van. It stopped directly in front of us with an intense motion and sound, leaving tracks behind.
何事？
迎えだとも。
I got connections. In the form of his... There you go.
リシアがお迎えに上がりました、ご主人様。
She's just been hanging around, I guess. The driver was obviously my dearest mate, Hishia. I was hoping she would infiltrate the...
本当に着いた。来たー！やったー！
I was hoping she would infiltrate the school eventually, but I guess she's just gonna hang around outside so that whenever Naruto ever wants to go into the city or anything, she will always be there to escort him to town.
君は用を済ませてくるといい。私も野暮用がある。そうだな。20時に集合でいいかね。
いいでしょう。
では。
成田。なんでもないです。とっとと行きやがれです。
では、後ほど。
それでは、フィシアも失礼いたします、高崎様。
It was my solemn duty to save damsels in distress, but error was in luck. I happened to have a reason to visit the town myself. Hishia took me to a church next to the river. It was quite large, but it had financial trouble and had to be sold, so I'd bought it. Oh, okay. Is this where Hishia's been staying? I decided to use it as my base of operations.
ここを手に入れる手続きよりも、手に入れてからのお掃除の方が何かと大変でした、ご主人様。
My condolences. I will reward you by dating you in the fan disc, but only in the fan disc because you don't have a route here.
しかしまさか、ご主人様が同伴出勤とは。ヒシア、完璧に予想外です。しかもロリロリン、危険な魅力。
What a dangerous charm, indeed.
我々は清い仲だと思う。そう、私の愛すべきは放慢なれば。
Yeah, don't worry, Hisha. Narita is nothing like Dexter. Yet. We can't choose her route, so...
かっこつけて言われてもぶっちゃけどうだろうとヒシアは思います。
それはともかくとして、転校早々の爆発事故とはさすがに予想外だったな。
Hisha nodded.
はい、ヒシア調べてみましたが、この前のテロも昨日の事故も報道関係にはまるで漏れていません。あの理事長、政財界への影響力も相当なものですね。
あのスクールのような場所を作り出せるという、それだけで容易ではない相手だ。それにそうでなければわざわざここまで来る必要はなかったのだから。
I mean, of course the chairman is powerful. He used to be he was the former fourth chairman of the Tojo of the Tojo clan.
いかがなさいますか、成田様。
それがどうした。すべては承知の上だ。私はなすべきことをなす。
I assure you, he has a. I assure you, Kurofune has a lot of connections. I was struggling to remember his name and not trying to say, and I was trying not to say Kiryu.
準備は問題なく進めております。
そろそろ時間だな。私は奥に入る。
As planned, I walked into the confessional. Soon enough, I heard footsteps. They were unsteady, as if the person was extremely cautious.
あちらでお待ちです。
After hearing Hishia's words, the person entered the other side. Yes?
あんたが依頼人か？
Okay. It took a while. I don't know why it took so long, but... The man's name was Takeshi Hanazono, and he was the dog-like man who'd visited the academy earlier that day. The plot thickens. Part 6. Applause akin to poison. Post. Why is it in... what? Okay. She reminisced about the sky I'd gazed up at long ago. Her young fingers had pointed at a rainbow decorating it. As the vibrance sliced the sky above, she chased after those two, wondering if she'd ever catch up to them. Sarako Katsuragi wallowed in her depressed thoughts. People often called her pessimistic, and she had a tendency to act introverted. This time, the cause was what she'd seen at noon. Watching Eru and Narita together had upset her. She'd failed to invite Narita on a tour of the school because of that. Eru said that they were fighting.
そうだよ。別にそういうつもりじゃないんだって。サクのためなんだって分かっているのに。どうしたらいいんだろう。こんな気持ち初めてでよくわからない。僕一番じゃなくても平気だから別にいいんだけど、でもなんかつっかえてるようなこの気持ち。僕って結構やきもち焼きだったのかな。
She hadn't even confessed yet. Her feelings were one-sided. They were indeed.
そろそろ帰らないと夕食に遅れちゃうね。
Unfortunately, I am unable to say that they aren't that the feelings aren't one-sided, but because of the choices I've been picking, hopefully they will lead down to Mao's route. Sarako went to the dorm, but she was so troubled that she tumbled down the stairs. That's unfortunate. That's unfortunate.
珍しいですね。あなたがよそ見して階段から落ちるなんて。
ちょっと考え事してたので。
Yeah, stuff about men, specifically Narita.
かすり傷です。すり傷と内身だけで大したことはありませんが、女の子の肌ですから気をつけて。
Tokino quickly treated Sorako. Her movements were very smooth. Sorako always admired Tokino's confidence.
ところで、先日の事故以降、体調に問題はありませんか？
大丈夫です。なんともありません。
音無さんはともかく、あなたは頭を打っていました。注意するに越したことはありませんよ。
Maybe that's why she's so love-struck. It's because of the concussion she got from, the accident.
精密検査でも異常はありませんでしたが、体調に不良が出た場合は、すぐに連絡しなさい。空子？
はい。
ぼーっとしているようですが、本当に大丈夫ですか？
はい、全然問題ないです。
何か悩み事があるのなら相談に乗りますよ。
After hesitating for a bit, Sorako hung her head.
悩みっていうわけじゃないんですけど、ただ時々そのサクも成田くんもすごくて、僕クラウンに選ばれたけどハローもうまく制御できないし、エルちゃんみたいなこともできないし。
それについては以前も言いましたが。
いいんです。悩んでるのは悩んでるんだけど、もうちょっと頑張ってみようかなって思って。それでどうすればいいのかなって。
そうなのですか？
はい。その成田くんにも言われたし。
成田真理にどんなことを言われたんですか？
いろいろ悩んでることにも意味はあるとか。
空子、あなたはもしかすると成田真理に好意を持っているのですか？
そんな好意とかそういうのじゃありません。ちょっとすごいなとかかっこいいなとか、それだけなんです。本当です。
わかりました。
The expression on Tokino's face didn't change. She'd clearly mastered self-control.
一応念のために言っておくのですが、あなたのようなタイプが彼のような破天荒な人間にある種の魅力を感じるのは心理学的にも理解できます。言葉を選ばず言いますが、ぶっちゃけよしなさい。あの手の男性は女性を幸せにはできません。私が北米にいた頃の恩師が彼と同じ我が道を行く人物で、関わるとろくな目に遭わないか、引きずられて人生を踏み外すかと、まあ周囲の人間はひどいありさまでした。
Listen, Tokino. If this was like a regular visual novel where you wouldn't be where there aren't any dating routes and there is only one outcome that can come out of this visual novel, I could see where she's coming from. But she's very wrong in that, because he will eventually make someone happy. And, you know, depending on who you choose, Sorako could be one of those people.
でも自分を強く持つのはノーブルにとって必要だって時の先生が。
それはそうですが。ともかく、私はあなたに期待しています、空子。私としては、音無さんよりもむしろあなたに期待をかけているのです。
そんな、いくらなんでも。
オウル。
何ですか？
Who? I mean,
他の誰にも言ってはいけません。ですが覚えておきなさい。それは到達すべきところです。必ずわかる時が来ます。念のために栄養剤を出しておきましょう。就寝前に忘れずに飲みなさい。
okay. I get the feeling that none of the teachers really have the students' well-being in their best interests. Or, how do I say it? You know, I don't know how to phrase this. Tokino, Korofune, definitely Sky. I feel like their priorities doesn't really have anything to do with the students' well-beings. Something like that. You know, Tokino may be closer to taking, you know, closer to caring for the students than the other two, but maybe there's a reason why there's more researchers here than students.
はい、わかりました。
I'm not saying that the HMIs are treated more like guinea pigs, but something's fishy. And it ain't the smell of... Never mind. Sorako Katsuragi could see things others could not. Most of them were holes located somewhere on people's bodies. They were their scars, which represented wounds in their hearts. She could understand a wound's color, shape, size, and type. It was a power that allowed her to take pinpoint a wounded soul. That allowed her to pinpoint a wounded soul. Allowed her to pinpoint a wounded soul. Yeah, I guess. That was Sorako's halo. Every single person in the world had emotional scars. The sizes and depths were different, but everyone Sorako met had them. The 200 HMIs in the academy were no exception. Most had enrolled in the academy to escape the outside world that had scarred them. They were ruled by fear, loss, lament, or something else. And the 4 other crowns were no different. Naruta's wound was so deep that she wanted to look away. It was far too profound. Sorako knew the hole in his soul would never heal. It was so deep that it seemed to burn him, and it continued to bleed to this very day.
あんな傷を負ってるのに、どうして？
Why could he say something so gentle? Sorako found it strange. There was another thing bothering her. Every now and then, the wounds gave her visions of things closely tied to them. Naruta's gave one too, and it came in the form of a vision of a young girl wearing a light dress.
でも、あの子は。
The visions weren't clear, so she couldn't be certain, but the vague image felt familiar. But it couldn't have been her. After all, a person with such a wound would never have survived. Instead of returning to the dorm, Sorako decided to take a walk and search for a certain person. Within the walls of the academy, the devices provided the location data of students, workers, and teachers, and no one could get by unnoticed. However, there was one person she couldn't find like that, and so she only succeeded after aimlessly wandering around until it was dark out. The rose garden was lit by the moon. It looked almost otherworldly.
久しぶりだね。
The person she talked to wasn't surprised by the sudden visitor. Sorako knew that he couldn't be surprised, since that was what the rumors said. He faced Sorako awkwardly, like a marionette moved by strings. I fucking
君
knew
が
it.
僕に話しかけてくるとは、これは事件だね。
Gee, I wonder
何年ぶり
why...
だろう、
I,
サコ。
I wonder why the chairman's son isn't being tracked like everyone else. Using the confessional to hide my face, I turned toward the person I'd been waiting for. Takeshi Hanazono. He had claimed to be a journalist, but he was actually a strange mix of detective and gangster. He used to be rich, but he had lost it all to gambling and women. Unfortunate, especially the women part, and was now all washed up. A walking cliche, really.
あんたが依頼人か？
私が何者かは言えない。
そうだろうな。金持ちってのはそういう連中だよ。いいぜ、帝黒船の学園だろ。
詳しい内容はあの女から聞かされているから、もう一度説明しても。
Using the opening between us, I handed him a memory stick.
そこには特別製のウイルスが入っている。学園のメインサーバーにつながっている端末にアクセスできれば自動的に必要な情報を拾ってくる。君の仕事は学園に侵入し、所定の端末にそのメモリーを振り付ける。
あんたは帝黒船に恨みでもあるのか？
それを言うなら君の方だ。かつては帝黒船の子飼いだった男が身を持ち崩して切り捨てられる。
Interesting.
そうだ、あの野郎俺を散々働かせてゴミみたいに捨てやがったんだ。ちくしょう、自分はあんななんだかわからねえ学園の理事長とかに収まりやがって。許さねえ、あいつは許さねえ。はあ、そうさ、だからこの話に乗ったのさ。やばい橋だってのは分かってるんだ。あの学園はまともじゃねえからな。黒船のやつ、何かとてつもなくやばいことをやってるんだろ。あんたはそれに関わってる。
これ以上余計な話をするのならこの依頼はなかったことにする。
I didn't mean to cut you off, shady guy.
黒船のやつ、何かとてつもなくやばいことをやってるんだろ。あんたはそれに関わってる。それであいつを陥れてやろうと。すまねえ。あんたの正体は詮索しない。俺は金と高飛びの手はずさえ整えてもらえればいい。黒船に俺がやったと知れたら絶対に殺される。
用意は全てできている。後で外にも
なら、おお、分かってるよ。あの学園のことはずっと調べてたんだ。あの野郎に人を吹かせたくてな。忍び込んで端末まで行くぐらいなら簡単だ。
残りの報酬1億は成功しない。
ああ、任せてくれよ。
He licked his lips, but the booth prevented me from seeing it. I still commented on it though, so I could feel it. I didn't see it, but I could feel that he licked his lips. I'd made it to the rendezvous point in time, and I stood there as if... as if my meeting with Hanazono never happened, and was soon approached by Eru, who had her spoils in hand.
高崎エル、ただいま戻りました。
無事で何よりだ。
イシアが拝見しますに、その顔だと上守備ですか、高崎様。
Yeah, what were you so distraught over? What were you so distraught over not being able to pre-order?
ファルコメンハイドです。もはや完璧、超完璧。高崎エルに死角なし、計画通り。
Apparently, Eru had gone shopping. She held large bags in both of her hands.
さては高崎様、その大きな荷物はお宝発見ですね。
本来なら部外者に見せるものではありませんが、地獄から這い上がって喜ばしい今夜、ここまで運んでくれた礼もあるので、特別にお見せしましょう。
How interesting. My dearest maiden Eru seemed to be on the same wavelength.
サブカルチャー
Aha. Right. Subculture? Eru pulled out the content of the paper bags. There were a number of books, as well as a large case.
これは本日発売の書籍、小説3冊にコミックが5冊。やっぱ本は発売初日に初版を買ってなんぼですよね。
I would try to guess what the one on the left is, but apparently none of them are games, so Resident Evil wouldn't be a good guess.
続くこちらが本日発売の携帯機用ゲーム、即死につながるハード難易度と暗黒世界観が売りの名作続編、暗黒体験。
Never mind. Maybe Resident Evil wasn't that bad of a guess because the left one was a game.
そしてこっちは本日発売のいわゆる薄いゲー。そして初回特典のタペストリーと抱き枕とサントラ。
The one on the right looks like a BL.
本来予約必須の代物ですが、奥島はど田舎なので当日店舗に到達できれば手に入る可能性があります。よかった。可能性は素晴らしい。エイトリアン。
She raised her hands to the sky like a boxer who'd just defeated a worthy opponent.
イシアが見ますところ、高崎様は極めてテンション高め、アドレナリンドバドバです。
Yeah, and she still sounds as monotone as ever.
人間とはありのままの世界を受け止め、喜び、怒り、悲しみ、楽しみ、素直にそれを表す方が良いのだよ。
ところで高崎様、物粋とは存じますが、わざわざ無理して発売初日に行かなくても良いのでは？
Yes. You wouldn't get it, Hishio.
何をおっしゃいますですか、メイドさん。それはノーブルとしての聖なる義務なのです。
Eru puffed out her chest proudly.
この21世紀、日本の地に育まれた偉大な娯楽産業は存亡の危機にあります。いえ、日本だけの問題ではありません。先進国が抱える大きなパラダイムシフトです。
I refuse to include that one other word that was in that sentence.
成熟した文化にユーザーの思考は細分化し、少子化と相まって経済基盤は先細り、ネットワークの進化で全世界がつながれ、フラット化しつつある新時代において、クリエイターとユーザー、いいえ、オリジネーターとレシーバーの立ち位置も変化を余儀なくされているのです。クリエイターのプロとアマの敷居が曖昧になり、情報発信手段が多様化する現代では、娯楽世界はまさに玉石混交。だからこそ、自分の目や自分の信頼する目利きが発掘した波長の合うクリエイターの価値は宝石に等しい。そして、新たな一億総情報発信時代を生き抜くために必要とされるのは、見出した宝石を自らの手で磨き、支えようという ユーザーイコールレシーバー自身の聖なる自覚。わかりますか？それはルネサンス時代のアーティストとパトロンの関係にも似るのです。
It isn't that deep, Eru.
パトロンは芸術家の経済的支援者であると同時に保護者でもありました。彼らなくしてルネサンスの芸術は花開かなかったと言っても過言ではありません。
I mean, I understand what she's trying to say, but she can't compare what she's doing now to the fucking Renaissance.
この情報過密時代にオリジネーターが情報イコール娯楽を発信し続けるには当然経済的あるいは社会的な保護が必要。それを与えるのは国家でも企業でもありません。我々レシーバーが自分の目で見込んだクリエイターに出資することでなすのです。そう、20世紀のようにメディアや大企業に踊らされることなく、直接自らが価値あると見込んだクリエイターを支援する。現代とはそれができる時代なのです。海賊版やネット流出ではなく初回特典版を買う。それはオリジネーターにさらなる作品を作り上げ有費を期待するがゆえの出資と保護。我々なくして彼らは立ち行かず、彼らの才能なくして我々は娯楽を堪能できない。我々は作品を見出す自分自身の目と魂に誇りを持ち、新たな時代を生きる。同時にそれはオリジネーターにも言えるのです。新時代に対応し、出資者の支えを自覚することで自らを高め続けなければなりません。創作の荒野にいつか倒れる時までさらなる頂を目指し研鑽を積み、レシーバーの信頼に応えることが作る者たちの聖なる義務。ここに21世紀の娯楽産業における聖なる関係は完成を見るのです。
だから初回特典とやらを買うのだと。
しかり。
She gives a serious nod.
君の情熱と自覚の素晴らしさは理解したとも。さて、私の要件も済んだ。そろそろ戻るとするかね。
待ってください。せっかく町まで来たのです。夜食していきましょう。
What an unexpected offer. I honestly thought it best to return as quickly as possible to avoid getting caught, but I couldn't refuse a girl's invitation.
しかし私とヒシアはこの辺りには詳しくないのだが。
Good thing you're a local, right?
はい、さようです。
この高崎エルにお任せするのです。ジモッピーの強さ、思い知らせて差し上げましょう。
She knows all of the good locations. Eru led us through the unfamiliar town.
道行く人々に奇怪な装束のものが多いのはこの地方の宗教的装束か何かだろうか。
あれは日本文化の一つ、コスプレです。戦国期に生まれた歌舞伎に端を発すると言われる由緒正しいものです。
Yeah, but unlike Sengoku era Kabuki, women are also wearing cosplay.
露出の高さはいわゆるバサラ文化のなせる技ということか。ジャパニーズわびさびも奥が深い。
実はちょうど奥島ではイベント開催中です。コスプレが氾濫しているのはそのせいです。ここ数年、年に何度かサブカルチャー発信イベントを行うようになりました。この手のイベントは自治体主導でやると何年か前のアニモエエンパイアみたく嫌なオチがつきがちですが、奥島のイベントは地元クリエイターの主導。市内に映画館付きビルを建てたサブカル系アニメ制作会社があるのですが、そこを中心に街全体でイベントを盛り上げていて、それはまさに自らの手で新たな潮流を作り上げんとする新時代の情報発信の一つの形と言えるでしょう。その名も 街大好き。
Much love. Okay.
素朴にして純朴な名称だね。
医師はさすがにもうちょっとひねった方がいいんじゃないかなと思ったりします。
奥島にはスクールに制御ソフトを納品している IT 会社もあります。この奥島は秋葉と日本橋に匹敵する日本有数のインテリジェンス&カルチャーシティになってる予定です。10年後ぐらいには。奥島といえばこれお好み焼き。ここは地元でも知る人ぞ知る名店、40年の歴史ある老舗です。お二人に地元風味を味わわせてやりましょう。
これがジャパニーズお好みかね。豚玉が一般的と聞いたが、これは違うな。
特製丸天の入った豆玉です。金時豆をトッピングしたお好み焼きという斬新さ。薄めの広島風に焼いてあります。
So that's why she's so obsessed with the beans. It's because of fucking it's the local it's the local crop. I don't remember what the actual word is to describe a produce that is grown locally. Right, the staple produce that is grown in Okushima.
こちらのデラックス版は関西風で厚焼きです。金時豆に加えて地域の味である名門金時と奥島踊りをトッピングした地産地消にも優しい味。ところでメイドさん、ここはお値段も大変リーズナブルですが、単品の量はやや少なめなので焼きそばとかも一緒に頼んだ方がいいですよ。
She's upselling Hishia.
そういえば高崎様、先ほどはどちらまで買い物に行っておられたのですか？
ここの商店街の入り口に映画館付きのビルがあったでしょ。あれの地下にサブカルチャー専門ショップがあります。そこ割と特典がいいので。ただそこだと薄い芸が置いていないので、駅前に出てプラプラ横丁商店街の2階にある書店も回ってゲットしてきました。
それは大変な旅路でしたね。
志高き真のレシーバーとは足で稼ぐ苦労をいとわないのだと、サクと知り合いの物書きから教わりました。
ほほう、そんな珍しげな知り合い様がおられますか？
運の一尾という奥島在住の物書きがサクの紹介でしたが。
サク、音無様も奥島出身なのですか？
サクは違います。ネット経由で知り合っていて、自分がサクのカバリエになった時に紹介されて、ちょうど今日は運野の新刊が出てたのでついでに買ってきて。
カバリエとは何だね。
本当にスクールの案内とかこれっぽっちも読んでないのですね、成田真理。
そう、ご主人様は掃除機の取説も読まない方ですので。
褒めるものではないよ。
Don't worry, I'm sure Naruto will soon find out quite a lot about the school. Maybe a bit more than a student should, but
ちっとも褒めてないと思いますが、いいでしょう。カバリエはスクールにある制度です。主に年少のものの場合が多いですが、成長する素質があると思われるプルミエル以下の学生がエトワールの付き人に任命される場合があります。注射的な役割で日常の世話などを通してエトワールからいろいろなものを学びます。自分は最初カバリエとして作に就きました。
そこからエトワールに昇格されたのですね。
まあ 自分は才能があったので。あ、そっち側もう焼けてます、豆玉。
どんな味か。甘いとは意外だね。
金時豆ですから、食べるとほんのりと甘さが口に広がります。豆の甘みですので、後口がよく、癖のない和菓子のようなものです。お好み焼きにすることで、ソースの濃い味に日本的なさっぱりとした甘みが組み合わさり、独特の風味に。マヨネーズはつけずに食べましょう。
お豆の食感は思ったよりも出ませんね。
丸天が入っているので、その歯ごたえが出ます。お好み焼きっぽくなくて特徴的です。味わっていると、口に広がる天ぷらの甘みがまた。軽めの食感を楽しむなら、こちらの芋入りをどうぞ。さつまいもの薄切りを混ぜてあるので、食べたとき、ほろ、サクッと崩れる軽快な歯ごたえが楽しめます。金時豆と金時芋の濃度の違う2種類の甘みが段階的に舌を楽しませてくれます。おやつに作って出すとサクたちにも好評でした。栄養バランスもいいし。アクセントで入っている奥島踊りは地方の独自銘柄として出荷されている鶏肉で、直接焼いてすだちをかけて食べると口に広がる味わいがなんとも。
思いのほか時間が遅くなってしまったな。
高崎様、よく寝ておられます。
Eri gave into her exhaustion and fell asleep right after dinner. I had to carry her on my back. What an odd feeling. I certainly hadn't expected to walk through this town with such a calm heart.
宝物みたいに抱えておられますね。買ったもの。
彼女にとっては大事なのだろう。彼女が価値あると決めたものを他人が侵釈するなど無粋だ。
The town was so rural that basically no people wandered around after dark. The only people out and about were driving down the highway in their cars.
神を信じたところで助けなど期待できないが、それが心の平穏をもたらすならば、祈る意味は十分にある。私は信仰を無価値だとは思わない。
でも、成田様は神を敬われないのですね。
どの口で私が神に祈ったところで、私の願いは神が叶えてくれる類の代物でもあるまい。神とは等しく人々を救い、情けをもたらすものであるべきだ。私の願いを叶える者がいるとすれば、そんなものは神とは呼べない。
はい。
今夜は思いもよらない安らぎだった。彼女に、エルに感謝しよう。穏やかで豊かな世界を教えてくれた、この比類なき贅沢に。そして戻るとしよう、スクールに。人の世の哀れの待つ、我々の世界に。
はい、成田様。
The gears continued to turn, and surely the sun would soon rise and raise the curtains on a new stage.
空子、君が僕に話しかけてくるとは、これは事件だね。一体何が起こることやら。
君も大義も話しかけてこなかったものね。
In the rose garden, which was faintly lit up by the moon, Sorako awkwardly smiled at Taigi.
いつも絵を描いてたね。
絵はいい。失われていく一瞬が、その中では永遠だ。
There were about 3 steps between them. It was a strange distance that wasn't close or far. Instead of getting any closer, they simply looked at each other, waiting for each other to speak.
君はいつもそうしていたね。僕を背中から物問いたげに見つめては去っていく。これまでに何度そうしたろう。美しい声を聞いたのは、そう7年ぶりになる。
そっか、そんなに経つんだね。
そういえばその姿似合っているよ。どう見ても男子には見えないのでファッションとしてはいい。
そっか、見えないんだ、やっぱり。
ああ、全くこれっぽっちも見えないね。
うわぁ。
それで空子、君に条理を曲げて声をかけさせたものがあったのかな。それともほんの気まぐれか。
Gathering her resolve, Sorako spoke a name.
帝春水、覚えてる？
古い名前だね。もうとっくに色あせてしまった。そんな名前を今になって聞かされるとは思わなかった。
そう、忘れてしまったんだね。
Right as she thought she shouldn't have come, Tagi cut in.
覚えてるよ。忘れようもない。それはとても幸せな時代の記憶だ。あの頃は良かった。僕がいて、君がいて、春水がいて、瑠璃がいた。
Sorako knew full well that he hadn't forgotten. That was what it meant to see wounds. Their previous parting had been rather sudden. One morning they separated without as much as a goodbye. That was why Sorako hadn't seen Taigi's wounds until 3 years ago. Sorako wondered when he had received such a grave wound.
空子、あの頃の君はまだハローに目覚めてはいなかったね。
僕はサクと同じで後天性 HMI だから。大義はどうだったの？あの頃は何も言わなかったし、やっぱりもっと後になって HMI に？
そんなことを尋ねに来たのかい？
それは。
Taigi had seen Sorako fall silent many times already, and so instead of waiting for her to continue, he spoke some heavy words.
帝春水は死んだ。
そうだよね。
どうしてそんなことを今になって？ずっと僕に話しかけてこなかった君がわざわざここへやってくるような何かがあったのかな。
Taigi's wound suddenly revealed a familiar sight. Sorako had seen one just like it recently. She didn't answer his question. Sorako's power, the halo that displayed others' wounds, easily treaded upon things people wanted to hide. She felt that asking about them would have been a severe violation of privacy.
言いたくないのなら無理には聞かないよ。それよりも7年ぶりに休校を温めたのだし、君に導きを示そうか。
Yeah, don't get too close to Narita.
それは君の予言？
どう思う？僕が語るのは本当に未来の導きだと信じるかい？マクベスを導いた荒野の魔女のように。
After thinking for a moment, Sorako shook her head.
僕は信じないと思う。
未来を恐れないのかい？
僕は臆病者だよ。
At that point, Sorako hung her head and used her right hand to play with her blonde hair. Knowing the future granted no real sense of peace. If it was unchangeable, it only brought despair or stole joy, since the end result would remain the same. That was why Sorako believed it was best not to know, The lack of knowledge left room for hope.
でも聞くのかい？
決まった未来があるなんて信じない。決まっていないのなら変えられる。少なくともチャンスはある。サクならきっとそう言うと思うから。
素晴らしいね、友情は。
Like a black bird of ill omen, Taki began talking.
我らがクラウンにおいては細心の注意を払って立ち向かわれることを。これより来たるはきっと嵐であるから。
The ominous prediction made Sorako shiver. I'd returned to the academy without arousing any suspicion, and returned to my room.
ふむ、よく眠っているようだね。
So well, in fact, that I thought it's sinful to wake her. In that moment, she looked nothing like a crown or a loyal knight. Instead, she merely seemed to be a young girl. I didn't want to wake her, so I placed her on my bed, then moved to my sofa as I had first planned. Suddenly, someone knocked on my door.
誰かね？
No one replied at first, but then
音無サクです。
her voice sounded rather stiff. What a close call. If we'd returned, even a minute later, she would have realized that we'd snuck out.
どうしたのだね、こんな夜更けに。
あなたに謝りたくて。あれからずっと考えてみて、あなたの言ったことにも理はあったと思います。
ふむ、それは何についてだろう。
ごめんなさい。事故の前に、言い合ったでしょ？
She must have meant the time I told her I didn't agree with the Academy's objectives, and that I couldn't take part in its management. That reminded me that she had been cold to me ever since.
私は私の意思に基づいて述べただけだ。主張を取り下げるつもりはないが、身勝手であろうとは思う。君は間違っていないよ、音無作。
そうかもしれない。でも、それではいけないと、あなたが気づかせてくれた。ノーブル。人の反たらんと欲するなら、正しく人に道を示そうとするなら、自分が正しさにとらわれてはいけない。万人には万人の正しさがある。自分が正しさにとらわれたら、そんなものも見えなくなってしまうんだって。
私は何もしていない。君が答えを見出したのなら、それは君自身の施策の結果だ。
The Academy's goal was to create nobles. However, Saki already had the most important aspect of that ideal. Her sublime will, its crystalline beauty, was greater than any other.
あなたがいなければ、わからなかったと思う。お礼を言います。
過分に過ぎるとも。君は何ともストイックだな、サク。
私は未熟だから。私はより良き私になりたいと思う。今の自分では届かないものに、もっと多くを見て、もっと正しい答えを出せるものになりたいと思う。
クラウンのインシグニアだからだね。
時の先生の講義を覚えている？私は不幸な未来を見たくない。もっとよくできるはずなのに、失敗してしまった世界になんて行きたくはない。私はハローを持ってしまった。 手放せないなら意味を見出したい。この力は不幸な未来を動かせるかもしれない。私がそうしたい。だからそのために私はもっと先へ行きたいわ。あなたは間違いかけた私に道を示してくれた。だからお礼を言います、成田真理。
君に私から言えることは一つだけだ。サク、正しいものなど目指さぬ方がいい。この不実な世界に唯一無二の正当などありはしないよ。数十億の顔を持つ曖昧さと矛盾と理不尽だけだ。命とはその合間を手探りで進んでいくようなものなのだから。だから正しいではなく喜びを抱いて良き答えを探せるものになればいい。
喜び？
人が生きるには喜びが必要だ。それなくして長き過酷な道を踏破することはできない。自分の在り方に喜びを見出せるものになって、そして過ちを切り捨てるのではなく受け入れて新たな道を作り出せる。そんな良き答えを見つけられるのなら、それはきっと君が探している正しい答えではないだろうか。
成田君、
君が自分の願う人間になれることを私は陰ながら祈っていよう。ところで親愛を示してくれるのであれば、どうか成田と呼んでくれないだろうか、音無作。
そうするわ、成田。
さて、私のつまらない話はそれだけだが、作、君の要件もこれで終わりだろうか。
I'm sure she was able to finish what she said before.
それとあとお礼を。あの事故の時、私と空子を助けてくれてありがとう。それでその感謝とあなたの転校のお祝いを兼ねて、明日の夜寮でパーティーをしようと思うんだけれど。
それは素晴らしい。喜んでお受けさせていただこ
あなたこそいつも大げさだわ。
大げさなどありえない。私は常に自然体なのだよ。
それから感謝と学園の秩序は別ですから。
了解しているとも。サク、君は斧が信じるものを貫きたまえ。それは私の道と相対するかもしれないが、それでいい。それがいい。他者との衝突を恐れ、自らの正しいと信じるものを曲げるなら、どうして世界を変えられる？世界とは正しさの集まりだ。衝突なくしては一歩進むこともできない。
でも衝突するだけが道じゃないわよね。
Listen, I already explained why conflict isn't a bad thing, so I don't need to repeat what I've said multiple times before.
良き道もあるかもしれない。ぶつかり合うばかりではなく、歩み寄った先の新しい道が。この悲しむべき世界で良き道を見出すのは果てしなく困難だ。だが恐れずに進めば、君にはあるいは見出せるのかもしれない。
あなたはどうなの？
私はそんな賢者ではないとも。太古から続く愚かな人の歩みを踏襲するものだ。
おやすみなさい成田。また明日。あと月末に夜会があるので、もし用事がないようなら早めに連絡を。
心遣い痛み入る。 それではおやすみ、サク。良い夜を。
Her footsteps sounded light and cheerful as she walked away. It was late at night, so I figured it best to just lie down and sleep. I pulled out some new sheets and placed them over Eru, since I didn't want her to catch a cold. And then I walked over to the sofa. When I turned around, Eru grabbed my clothes like a drowning woman grabbing onto driftwood. Her expression made it hard to imagine what kind of dreams she was having.
人の生とは過酷なる煉獄だ。せめて夢の淡いに混じっている束の間くらい安らかであれと思う。君にもここへ来るまでの物語があるのだろうね。
I patted her head. It was a familiar sensation. To those who didn't have halos, those who did were a source of constant fear. Some could harm you without touching, while others could also look inside the hidden confines of your heart. Fear was a powerful source of rejection and violence. Eru Takazaki might have faced such things in the past, though personally, I didn't have many bad experiences of that kind. The man who taught me how to survive also taught me how to hide my power. He had no halo, however, he was far from normal. The man couldn't live in common society. Still, he had at least understood that wolves had to don sheep's clothing.
致し方ない。
Since he refused to let go, I chose to get in bed with her. Since she refused to let go, I chose to get in bed with her, like we'd agreed. Appreciating Eru and Saku's sublime, beautiful souls brought me true peace. I hoped they both had wonderful dreams. I jolted awake. Fucking god damn it! I was hoping to fucking. I was hoping that we'd have a peaceful night and be able to wake up and have a good day so that I could change my rankings. But no, we can't have any nice things, can we? My mouth isn't moving. God damn it. Yes, I'm changing my rankings. Look, all I'm gonna say is, Passion is very attractive. Not attractive enough to change, not attractive enough to move past Sorako, but attractive in its own right. Because here's the other thing. I'm a sucker for Lovestruck cuties. And Sorako is a Lovestruck cutie. So, let's just... There you go. Out of sight, out of mind. I jolted awake. Also, hello Soul Release X. Unfortunately, I did not... I did not say hello to you because I was trying to get through that part before you left. I just saw you live and that I'm behind on this start, so gonna go back on the VOD to see you in a later stream. Well, it's gonna take you a while to catch up, I guess, even though there's only been technically 3 VODs, but the last VOD is definitely a lot longer than the rest of them. I asked ChatGPT what Halo it thinks I would have, and it gave me this: the Phoenix and the Turtle. 13. Parallax. What? Why would you ask ChatGPT? Huh? Whatever, either way. I hate to end it off on a cliffhanger, I guess. I wanted to get through that part before stuff. Look this up on Google real quick. Why do I need to look this up? It didn't come up with anything. It came up with Shakespeare, but only the Phoenix and the Turtle part. But, you know, like I said, I hate to leave it off on a cliffhanger. Look up the terms and what they mean. No, you do it yourself. I'm going. Because I've been streaming for 6 fucking hours. Fuck you. You did? Then why did you ask me to do it? I want you to know. Just type it out. What are you fucking talking about? Oh, you need to look it up yourself, even though I already know what I need to... even though I already know what you want to fucking look up the terms of. Either way, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, I'd probably appreciate it. If you want to support me further, if you want to support me even further, you could always subscribe. But yeah. Even though the VOD itself is like 3.5 hours, the stream was a whole 6 hours, which, spoiler alert, is definitely not the regular amount of time I stream. But who knows, maybe I will stream a similar amount. Maybe not tomorrow, because tomorrow is Nicole's banner. Tomorrow is the new Genshin update, and I will be pulling for Nicole and hoping I win the 50-50 like I did for why am I blanking on her name? She's a like I did for the last character. Yep. I definitely remember her name, and I'm definitely not drawing a blank on her name, even though I love her so much. Yep. You know, she's the new Geo character. Her name was Linnea. See, I remembered her name. God damn it. But yes, I won 50-50 on Linnea, and I'm hoping I win 50-50 on Nicole. And also Lohan. But, you know, he isn't as important. Either way, with that being said, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, and I will see you guys again next time. Bye-bye.